Alpha King Dante Blackwood had sentenced hundreds to death without flinching, but when he saw the young Omega twirling her laughing pup through pools of soapy water in his moonlit courtyard, something inside his cold heart cracked wide open, and he knew his carefully controlled world was about to shatter. He'd come to the balcony to escape the council meeting. 3 hours of territorial disputes and execution orders, and all he'd felt was the familiar numbness. 28 years old, and already he ruled like a man twice his age. Cold, efficient, merciless. But that sound, that child's laughter, bright as bells, cut through the night air and stopped him dead. Dante's hands tightened on the stone railing as he looked down into the courtyard below. The servants had finished their work hours ago. The space should have been empty. Instead, he saw her, an Omega. Small, dark-haired, her servant's uniform rolled up at the sleeves. She was spinning in circles, hands clasped, with a little girl who couldn't have been more than 4. The child shrieked with delight as soapy water splashed around their bare feet. "Again, Mama, again!" The Omega laughed, a sound so genuine it made Dante's chest ache. "One more time, baby, then we have to go before someone sees us." His wolf surged forward in his mind. Mate? No, impossible. Dante had given up on the mate bond years ago. He'd accepted his fate. A political marriage, an heir, a cold bed. That was the price of power. But his wolf didn't lie. And right now, his wolf was clawing to get out, desperate to reach the woman dancing with her daughter in his courtyard. He watched as she scooped the child up, pressing kisses to her cheeks. The little girl, Maya she'd called her, wrapped her arms around her mother's neck, still giggling. "Love you, Mama. Love you more, my sweet girl." Something in Dante's chest twisted. He couldn't remember the last time someone had spoken to him with such tenderness. Perhaps never. The Omega set her daughter down and quickly began gathering their cleaning supplies. Efficient movements, constantly glancing around, as if expecting to be caught. She was afraid. "Good," his wolf growled. "We'll protect her." Dante's jaw clenched. Protect her? He was the thing people feared most in this realm. He'd built his reputation on ruthlessness, on making examples of anyone who defied him. He didn't protect, he conquered. But he couldn't look away from her. She was beautiful in an understated way. Delicate features, wide eyes, dark hair pulled back in a simple braid. Nothing like the painted alphas who paraded through his court, all of them vying for his attention. This Omega looked like she wanted to disappear. And she had a child. A pup with no father in sight from what he could tell. His eyes narrowed. What Omega would dare bring a child into his palace without a mate to protect them? "Beta Marcus," he called without turning. His second-in-command appeared within seconds. "Your Majesty?" "The Omega in the courtyard. Bring her to me, now." Sarah's hands were shaking as she scrubbed the last of the soap from the courtyard stones. Stupid. So incredibly stupid. She'd been so careful for 3 years, 3 years of keeping her head down, of blending in with the other servants, of making sure no one looked at her too closely. And tonight she'd thrown it all away for a moment of joy with her daughter. "Mama, why are you scared?" Maya asked, her little face scrunching with worry. Sarah forced a smile. "I'm not scared, baby. Just tired. Let's get you to bed." She gathered Maya into her arms, breathing in her pup's sweet scent. Lavender and honey. The most precious thing in her world. "Sarah?" She froze at the sound of Beta Marcus's voice behind her. Her heart dropped into her stomach. She turned slowly, holding Maya closer. The Beta stood at the courtyard entrance, his expression unreadable in the moonlight. "The king wants to see you." The bucket slipped from her fingers, clattering on the stones. What? Now?" "I was just finishing my work, Beta Marcus. I didn't mean to. The king doesn't like to be kept waiting." Maya whimpered against her shoulder. Sarah's mind raced. No one got summoned by the Alpha King at midnight for anything good. She'd heard the stories. Servants who displeased him simply disappeared. Omegas who caught his eye were used and discarded. She'd worked so hard to stay invisible. And now, "Please," she whispered, "my daughter—" "Bring her." Marcus turned and walked away, clearly expecting her to follow. Sarah stood frozen, every instinct screaming at her to run. But where would she go? The king controlled everything within 100 miles. If she ran, he'd hunt her down. And what he'd do to her for defying him would be so much worse. "It's okay, Mama," Maya whispered, her small hand patting Sarah's cheek. "Don't be sad." Sarah's heart shattered. Her brave, beautiful girl. She'd promised herself she'd protect Maya from men like the Alpha King. Powerful, dangerous men who took what they wanted and left destruction in their wake. Men like Maya's father. She kissed her daughter's forehead and started walking. The palace corridors were empty at this hour, lit only by torches that cast dancing shadows on the stone walls. Sarah had cleaned these halls 1,000 times, but she'd never walked them like this, being escorted to the king's private chambers. Her wolf whimpered in fear. She hushed it, focused on keeping Maya calm. Beta Marcus stopped in front of massive double doors carved with wolves mid-hunt. He knocked once. "Enter." That voice, deep, commanding, cold as winter. Sarah had heard it before, echoing through the palace when he gave orders. She'd never heard it directed at her. Marcus pushed open the doors and gestured for her to go inside. The king's study was enormous, dark wood and leather, weapons mounted on the walls, a fire crackling in a stone fireplace that could have fit 3 grown men. And behind a massive desk sat the Alpha King himself. Sarah had seen him before, of course. Everyone in the palace had seen him, but she'd never been this close. He was devastating. Broad-shouldered, dark-haired, with sharp features that looked carved from granite. But it was his eyes that made her breath catch. Silver grey, like a wolf's, and currently locked on her with an intensity that made her knees weak. Power radiated from him in waves. Her Omega instincts screamed at her to submit, to bare her throat, to drop to her knees. She did none of those things. She stood there holding her daughter and met his gaze. Something flashed in those silver eyes, surprise maybe, or anger. "Your Majesty," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. He didn't speak, just studied her with those predatory eyes, his expression unreadable. Maya shifted in her arms, peeking out at the stranger. "Mama, who is he?" "Hush, baby. I asked you a question, little one." The king's voice was softer when he addressed Maya, almost gentle. "Who am I?" Maya considered him seriously. "You're the scary man Mama told me about. The king." To Sarah's shock, the corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "And what else did your mama tell you about me?" "That you're very powerful and very busy, and we should stay away from you." Now he did smile, and the transformation was stunning. For just a moment, he looked younger, almost boyish. Then his eyes returned to Sarah, and the cold mask slammed back into place. "Wise advice. Yet here you are. You summoned me, Your Majesty." "So I did." He stood moving around the desk with the fluid grace of a predator. "Tell me your name." "Sarah." "Sarah what?" She hesitated. Giving him her full name meant he could trace her history, find out where she'd come from. "Just Sarah, Your Majesty." His eyes narrowed. "Everyone has a last name? I gave mine up. Why?" "That's my business." The temperature in the room dropped. Beta Marcus made a choked sound behind her. "Do you understand who you're speaking to?" the king asked, his voice dangerously soft. Sarah's heart hammered, but she didn't back down. She'd learned long ago that showing fear to predators only made them hunt harder. "I understand perfectly, Your Majesty. You're the Alpha King. You rule these lands with an iron fist. You've killed more wolves than most people have met. And right now, for some reason, you're interested in a lowly Omega servant who was foolish enough to play with her daughter in your courtyard." Silence. Then, impossibly, he laughed. A short, sharp sound, like he'd surprised himself. "You have a smart mouth for someone in your position." "My position being summoned to your chambers in the middle of the night? Your position being alive only because I allow it?" Maya whimpered again, and Sarah's arms tightened around her. That was a step too far. She could be brave for herself, but not when it came to her daughter. The king must have seen something in her expression because his own softened fractionally. "I'm not going to hurt your pup. Forgive me if I don't take comfort in that, Your Majesty." "What would comfort you?" The question was so unexpected that Sarah blinked. What?" "You're afraid?" What would make you less afraid? Letting me leave? No, just like that. Flat, absolute refusal. Sarah's stomach dropped. Then nothing will comfort me. He studied her again, and she had the uncomfortable feeling he could see straight through her, past the brave words to the terrified Omega beneath. How long have you worked in my palace, he asked. 3 years. And in those 3 years, you've managed to stay completely invisible. No one knows your full name. No one knows where you came from. You blend in. Keep your head down. Raise your daughter in secret. He took a step closer. What are you hiding from, Sarah? Everything. Everyone. The past that would destroy her if it caught up. The secret that would get Maya killed. The bond that should never have been made. I'm not hiding, she lied. I'm just trying to survive. By serving me, by staying out of your way. And yet here you are, in my chambers, holding a pup who looks exactly like you. Another step closer. His scent washed over her, pine and steel and something wild that made her wolf keen. Tell me about her father. Sarah's blood ran cold. That's none of your concern. Everything in my realm is my concern. He's gone. Dead? Gone, she repeated firmly. The king's jaw clenched, and for a moment, Sarah saw something dangerous flicker in his eyes. Possessiveness, jealousy, impossible. Kings didn't feel jealous over servants. Your Majesty, Beta Marcus interrupted carefully. It's late. Perhaps this conversation could continue tomorrow. Leave us. Marcus. The Beta's eyes widened. Sire, that's not... I said leave. Marcus hesitated, glanced at Sarah with something almost like pity, then bowed and left. The door clicked shut, and Sarah suddenly realized how truly alone she was. Alone with the most dangerous wolf in the kingdom, in his private chambers, with no one to hear her scream. Not that screaming would help. Who would dare challenge the Alpha King? Put her down, he said quietly, nodding toward Maya. No, that wasn't a request. You'll have to rip her from my arms. They stared at each other, wills clashing. Sarah knew she couldn't win this fight. He was the king. He could do whatever he wanted. But he didn't move toward them. Instead, he did something completely unexpected. He knelt. The Alpha King of the Northern Realm dropped to one knee, bringing himself to eye level with her daughter. Hello, Maya, he said softly. My name is Dante. Maya studied him with the brutal honesty of a 4-year-old. You have scary eyes. I know. Are you going to hurt my mama? No? Promise? I promise. Maya seemed to consider this, then nodded. Okay. Sarah's throat tightened. If only it were that simple. If only promises from powerful men meant anything. Dante rose to his feet again, and when he looked at Sarah, his expression was complicated. Something raw and hungry and almost frightened lurked beneath the cold control. I don't know what this is, he said quietly, but my wolf knows you both. Sarah's heart stopped. No. Yes? That's impossible. Yet here we are. He moved closer, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. You felt it too? The moment you entered this room. She had. Of course she had. The pull, the recognition, the way every cell in her body screamed mate, even though it made no sense. She'd already had a mate, already been bonded and broken and left bleeding. She couldn't do this again, wouldn't survive it. I don't want this, she whispered. Neither do I. Then let me go. I can't. 2 words, simple, devastating. Because Sarah knew exactly what they meant. The mate bond, once recognized, couldn't be ignored. It would consume them both if they tried to fight it, and she had secrets that would destroy them all if the truth came out. Your Majesty, she tried one more time, please, you don't want me. I'm no one, nothing. You're mine, he said, and the absolute certainty in his voice made her shiver. And I'm going to find out every secret you're hiding. Sarah, starting with why you're so terrified of letting anyone see you. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her cheek, and she hated how good his touch felt. Tomorrow, he said, you'll move your things to the Omega Wing, you and Maya both. You'll be under my protection. I don't need... You'll be under my protection, he repeated, voice hardening. That's not negotiable. Whatever you're running from, whoever hurt you, they'll have to go through me now. Sarah wanted to laugh, or cry, or both, because the thing she was running from, it was worse than anything the Alpha King could imagine, and when he found out the truth about her daughter, about the bloodline running through Maya's veins, his protection would turn to wrath. Kings didn't protect threats to their throne, they destroyed them. Chapter 2. Sarah didn't sleep. She'd lain awake in her tiny servant's quarters, Maya curled against her side, and counted the hours until dawn. Every creak of the floorboards made her heart race. Every footstep in the corridor had her tensing, waiting for guards to drag her away. The Alpha King had promised her protection. But Sarah knew better than to trust promises from powerful men. When the first light crept through the narrow window, she was already dressed. Maya stirred, rubbing her eyes. "Mama? Shh, baby, go back to sleep." But before Maya could settle, 3 sharp knocks rattled the door. Sarah's stomach dropped. "The king requests your presence," a guard's voice called through the wood. "Immediately." Maya's fingers clutched at her nightgown. "Mama, don't go." "I have to, sweetheart." Sarah kissed her forehead, trying not to let her hands shake. "I'll be back soon, I promise." "You said we don't make promises we can't keep." Smart girl, too smart for her own good. Another knock, harder this time. "Now, Omega." Sarah pulled on her shoes and opened the door. 2 guards stood there, both alphas, both looking at her like she was something distasteful they'd stepped in. "I need to take my daughter to—" The king said immediately, "Move." One of them grabbed her arm, yanking her into the hallway. Behind her, Maya started to cry. "Wait, please, she's just a child. I can't leave her alone." "Figure it out, Omega." Panic clawed at Sarah's throat. Maya was only 4. She couldn't be left alone in these quarters where anyone could walk in. "Where?" "I'll take her." Sarah turned to see old Marta shuffling down the corridor, her weathered face creased with concern. The cook had worked in the palace for 40 years, had shown Sarah kindness when no one else would. She was the closest thing to a friend Sarah had. "Marta, Go, child, I'll watch the little one." Marta's eyes were knowing, sad. "Whatever the king wants, you don't want to keep him waiting." The guards were already pulling Sarah away. She twisted back, calling, "Be good for Marta, Maya. I love you." "Love you, Mama." Then she was being hauled down the corridor, her bare feet stumbling on the stone floors. Not toward the king's study where she'd been last night, toward the throne room. Her blood turned to ice. The throne room meant this was official, public, whatever the Alpha King had planned for her. He wanted witnesses. The massive doors swung open, and Sarah was shoved inside. The room was enormous. Vaulted ceilings, stained glass windows depicting wolves in battle, and at the far end, an obsidian throne that seemed to swallow the light. The Alpha King sat upon it, dressed in formal black, his silver eyes cold as winter. But he wasn't alone. The throne room was filled with court members, alphas in fine clothes, betas whispering behind their hands, a handful of omegas dressed in silken jewels. All of them turned to stare as Sarah was marched forward. She kept her eyes on the floor, her heart hammering. This was worse than she'd imagined. Whatever happened here would be witnessed by everyone who mattered in the Northern Realm. "Closer," Dante commanded. The guards forced her forward until she stood at the base of the throne's dais. She could feel dozens of eyes on her, judging, curious, contemptuous. "On your knees, Omega," one of the guards hissed. She dropped, the stone cold and hard beneath her, submitted the way Omegas were supposed to before their Alpha King. But even with her eyes down, she could feel Dante's gaze burning into her. "Look at me." His voice was different than last night, harder, more distant, the voice of a king. Not a man who'd knelt before her daughter and made promises. Sarah forced herself to raise her eyes. He looked carved from marble up there on his throne. Beautiful and terrible and utterly untouchable. This was the king who'd conquered 3 territories before his 25th birthday, the wolf who'd killed his own father to take the crown. This was the man her daughter's bloodline would see destroyed. "State your full name, Sheikh," he ordered. "Sarah, Your Majesty." "Sarah what?" "Just Sarah." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. An Omega with no family name was an Omega with something to hide. "Where were you born?" "The Eastern Territories, Your Majesty." More murmurs. The Eastern Territories had been decimated in the War of Five Packs. Most wolves from there were dead or scattered. Which pack? Sarah's mind raced. She'd prepared for these questions years ago, had her lies ready. Moonstone Pack, Your Majesty. Moonstone was wiped out 8 years ago. I know, Your Majesty. How did you survive? I ran. And came here, to my palace? I needed work, safety. You were accepting refugees? All true, all carefully constructed to hide the real truth. Dante leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. How old is your daughter? The question hit her like a blow. She'd known it was coming, but her throat still went dry. 4, Your Majesty. And her father? Every eye in the room was on her now. This was what they really wanted to know. Why the king cared about some nobody Omega servant. He's dead, Your Majesty. The lie tasted like ash. Something flickered in Dante's eyes. His hands tightened on the arms of his throne. How did he die? The war. You're certain? Yes, Your Majesty. It wasn't entirely a lie. The man who'd fathered Maya was as good as dead to her. She'd made sure of that when she ran. But Dante's wolf must have sensed the deception, because a low growl rumbled from his chest. Several court members stepped back, fear rippling through the crowd. You're lying. Sarah's heart stopped. I'm not, Your Majesty. I can smell it on you. Fear, deception. He stood descending the dais steps with predatory grace. Tell me the truth, Omega. Is your pup's father alive? She couldn't. If she admitted it, he'd ask more questions, want to know who, where, why she'd run, and those answers would lead straight to disaster. No, Your Majesty, she said firmly, meeting his eyes. He's dead. Dante stopped inches from her, towering over her kneeling form. His scent overwhelmed her, pine and steel and furious wolf. She could feel his power pressing against her, demanding submission, demanding truth. But Sarah had survived worse than an angry Alpha King. She'd survived a monster. Look at me and say it again, Dante said softly, dangerously. She raised her chin. My daughter's father is dead, Your Majesty. Their eyes locked, silver against hazel. King against Omega. Mate against mate, though neither could acknowledge it here. For a long moment, nobody breathed. Then Dante smiled, cold and sharp. Very well. If you insist on lying, you'll do it where I can keep an eye on you. He turned to address the room. This Omega Sarah will be reassigned. Effective immediately, she'll clean my private chambers and serve under my direct supervision. Gasps echoed through the throne room. Your Majesty, a woman's voice cut through the chaos. Sharp, cultured, furious. Sarah's eyes tracked to a stunning alpha female pushing through the crowd. She was tall, blonde, dressed in emerald silk that probably cost more than Sarah would earn in a lifetime. Beautiful in the way of women born to power, and absolutely livid. Lady Vivian, Dante acknowledged coolly. You cannot be serious. Lady Vivian's blue eyes flashed as she climbed the dais steps, completely ignoring Sarah. Assigning a servant to your private chambers? This is highly irregular. I don't recall asking for your opinion. As your promised mate, I have every right to— You're not my mate yet, Dante interrupted, his voice like ice. And until the bonding ceremony, my household arrangements are none of your concern. Promised mate. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Of course the Alpha King had a promised mate. Political alliances were forged through matings. It was how the realm worked. It shouldn't have hurt. But her wolf whimpered anyway. Lady Vivian's face flushed red. The court will talk. Let them. This Omega is nothing. A nobody's servant with a bastard pup. The insult to Maya made rage flash through Sarah's chest, hot and bright. Her wolf snarled, wanting to lunge, to tear, to protect. But she stayed perfectly still, eyes down, hands clenched in her lap. Dante, however, moved. One moment he was standing calmly. The next he had Lady Vivian by the throat, lifted off her feet. Say one more word about the child, he said softly, and promised mate or not, I'll rip your tongue out. The throne room went deadly silent. Lady Vivian clawed at his hand, her eyes wide with shock and fear. Dante held her there for 3 more seconds, making his point, then dropped her. She stumbled back, coughing, her hand at her throat. Get out, Dante ordered. All of you, now. The court fled like scattered rabbits. Lady Vivian shot Sarah one last look of pure hatred before sweeping out, her attendants scrambling after her. Within moments, the throne room was empty except for Syrah, Dante, and the 2 guards at the door. Dante dismissed them with a wave. The doors boomed shut, and then it was just the 2 of them in that cavernous space, alone with the weight of what had just happened. Stand up, Dante said quietly. Sarah rose on shaking legs. Did you think I wouldn't notice? He moved closer, circling her like a wolf stalking prey. The way you keep your eyes down, the way you make yourself small, invisible. You're not just hiding, Sarah. You're terrified of being seen. I told you. You told me lies. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Your pup's father isn't dead. You ran from something, and whatever it is, it's bad enough that you'd rather risk my wrath than tell me the truth. Sarah said nothing. What could she say? I should force it out of you. His hand came up, fingers grazing her jaw. I could, you know. One command, and your Omega instincts would break. You'd tell me everything. Then why don't you? The words escaped before she could stop them. His eyes darkened. Because I want you to trust me, to choose to tell me. His thumb brushed her cheek, achingly gentle. And because using an alpha command on my mate would be a betrayal I couldn't live with. Mate. He'd said it out loud. You have a promised mate, Sarah whispered. Lady Vivian. A political arrangement made before I knew you existed. You should honor it. I should. His hand dropped away. But I won't. Not now. You'll start a war. Her family can challenge me if they dare. He stepped back, and the cold mask slipped into place again. Report to my chambers at dawn tomorrow. The head housekeeper will provide you with appropriate clothing and instructions. Your Majesty, your daughter will be moved to the Omega Wing today. I've arranged a suite with 2 bedrooms, a private bath, and round-the-clock guards. Sarah's throat tightened. I don't need... You do? Because if her father is alive and searching for her, he'll have to go through my entire guard to reach her. Dante's eyes were fierce, protective. No one touches what's mine, Sarah. Not your pup, and certainly not you. The possessiveness should have terrified her. Instead, treacherously, it made her feel safe. The court will make your life hell, she said quietly. Lady Vivian already hates me. Then she can join the long list of people who hate me. He almost smiled. I stopped caring about court opinion when I took my father's head. Right, because he'd killed his own father in ritual combat to claim the throne. She'd heard the story, how the old king had been cruel, corrupt, bleeding the realm dry, how his son had challenged him and won. But winning hadn't made Dante loved, just feared. Why are you doing this? Sarah asked. You could have any Omega in the realm, beautiful, connected, eager to warm your bed. Why fixate on a servant with a child and more secrets than sense? Because my wolf chose you. Simple. Absolute. And because when you looked at me last night, when you stood in my study holding your daughter and refused to submit, I felt something I haven't felt in years. What? Hope? The word hung between them, raw and vulnerable. Sarah wanted to reach for him, wanted to close the distance and let herself believe that maybe, impossibly, this could work. That a broken Omega with a dangerous secret could find safety in the arms of the realm's most ruthless king. But hope was a luxury she couldn't afford. I should get back to Maya, she said instead. Dante nodded, the vulnerability vanishing behind his kingly facade. Go. But Sarah? He caught her wrist as she turned to leave. Whatever you're running from, whoever hurt you, I will find out. And when I do, I'll destroy them. The promise should have comforted her. Instead, it made her want to weep. Because the person who'd hurt her, the monster she was running from, was someone Dante couldn't destroy. Someone protected by laws older than the realm itself. Someone who would kill them all if he ever learned the truth about Maya. She pulled free from Dante's grip and walked toward the doors, feeling his eyes on her every step. The guards opened them at her approach, and as she stepped into the corridor, reality crashed over her. She'd just been claimed by the Alpha King in front of the entire court, been given a position no servant had ever held. made an enemy of the woman who was supposed to be his mate. The gossip would spread like wildfire. By nightfall, everyone in the palace would be talking about the mysterious Omega who'd caught the king's attention. Her invisibility was gone, her carefully maintained anonymity shattered. And somewhere in whatever hole he was hiding in, Maya's father would hear the rumors, would learn that his daughter, the pup he'd ordered killed, was alive and living in the Northern Realms palace. Sarah's hands shook as she walked faster, needing to get to Maya, to hold her daughter and figure out what the hell she was going to do now. She rounded a corner and nearly collided with old Marta. Is she? The little one's fine, having breakfast in my kitchen. Marta's weathered eyes were worried. But child, what have you gotten yourself into? I don't know, Sarah admitted, her voice cracking. I don't know. Marta pulled her into a quick, fierce hug. Then you'd better figure it out fast, because half the court wants you dead, and the other half wants to know how a nobody Omega seduced the king. I didn't seduce anyone. Doesn't matter. That's the story they'll tell. Marta pulled back, gripping Sarah's shoulders. Watch your back, trust no one, and for the love of the moon, don't fall in love with that man. Too late, Sarah's wolf whispered, but she nodded anyway. Marta hurried off, and Sarah continued toward the kitchens, her mind spinning. She needed a plan, needed to figure out how to protect Maya without revealing their secret. Needed to... She froze. There, at the end of the corridor, stood Dante, not following her, just watching. His expression was unreadable from this distance, but as their eyes met, something passed between them. A promise, a warning, a claim. Then he turned and disappeared around the corner. Sarah stood there for a long moment, her heart racing. She'd thought seeing him in his study last night had been overwhelming, but this public claiming, this possessive protection, this mate bond that neither of them wanted but couldn't deny, this was so much worse. Because the Alpha King didn't do anything halfway. If he'd decided she was his, he'd fight heaven and hell to keep her, even if it meant destroying himself in the process. Sarah finally forced herself to move, heading toward the kitchens where Maya waited. Her daughter would need reassurance, would need to be told about their new rooms, their new life, their new impossibly dangerous situation. But as she walked, a memory tugged at her. Something from last night, when she'd been in Dante's study. He'd moved close to her, had touched her face, and for just a moment she'd seen his nostrils flare, his body go rigid, as if he'd recognized something, as if her scent had triggered a memory he couldn't quite place. Sarah's blood ran cold. No, it wasn't possible. 5 years ago, when she'd been in the Eastern Territories, when everything had gone wrong, there was no way Dante had been there, no way he could have. But what if he had? What if somewhere in his past, the Alpha King had crossed paths with the frightened Omega girl she used to be? What if he'd witnessed what happened that night? Sarah's fingers trembled as she pushed open the kitchen door. Maya looked up from where she sat at the servants' table, milk moustache on her upper lip, and grinned. Mama, Marta made honey cakes. That's wonderful, baby. Sarah pulled her daughter into her arms, breathing in her sweet scent, memorizing this moment. Because if Dante ever connected the dots, ever realized where he'd smelled her scent before, everything would come crashing down. And this time, there would be nowhere left to run. In his private chambers, Dante paced like a caged wolf. That scent, it had been haunting him since last night, teasing at the edges of his memory, familiar in a way that made his chest ache with something he couldn't name. Where had he smelled it before? He closed his eyes, trying to pull the memory into focus. 5 years ago, maybe longer. Somewhere cold, somewhere dark, somewhere with blood and screaming and... His eyes snapped open. No, it couldn't be. But the more he thought about it, the more the pieces started fitting together. The Eastern Territories, the war. That night he'd been sent to broker peace between warring packs and found only carnage. He'd been younger then. Not yet king, still his father's weapon. And in the ruins of a burned-out pack house, he'd found... What had he found? The memory was there just out of reach. Frustrating. Essential. Because if Sarah had been there that night, if she'd witnessed what he'd witnessed, then her secrets were darker than he'd imagined. And the danger she was running from was far, far worse. Chapter 3. 5 years ago, the Eastern Territories were beautiful in autumn. Sarah stood at the edge of the massive gathering, watching hundreds of wolves from 6 different packs mingle under strings of lanterns. The harvest moon ceremony was the event of the year, a celebration of unity after decades of war, and a chance for unmated wolves to find their destined pairs. At 19, Sarah had never attended anything so grand. Her pack, Moonstone, was small and poor, but the new prince of the Northern Realm had invited everyone as a gesture of goodwill, a promise of peace. "Stop fidgeting," her mother whispered, smoothing Sarah's dark hair. "You look beautiful." Sarah didn't feel beautiful. She felt terrified. All these powerful wolves, these alphas and their elegant mates. She was just a nobody omega from a pack most people had never heard of. "I shouldn't have come. Hush, you never know who you might meet." Her mother's eyes were hopeful, desperate even, because Moonstone Pack was dying. They needed alliances, connections, hope. Sarah had promised to try, so she'd put on her best dress, a simple blue thing that had belonged to her grandmother, and braided flowers into her hair like the other young Omegas. She'd painted her lips and pinched her cheeks and tried to look like she belonged, but she didn't. She knew it with every fibre of her being. "The prince is here," someone whispered excitedly. The crowd shifted, parting like water, and through the gap, Sarah saw him. Prince Dante Blackwood. He was 23, not yet king. Tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair and a face that could have been carved from stone. He wore formal black, a silver wolf pin at his collar marking his royal status, and he was the most beautiful thing Sarah had ever seen. "He's even more handsome than the rumours said." A beta girl beside her sighed. Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, because something was happening in her chest, a pull, a recognition, a certainty that made her wolf howl with joy. Mate. No, it wasn't possible. Princes didn't mate with poor Omegas from dying packs. The moon didn't make mistakes that cruel, but her wolf knew, and as if sensing her stare, Prince Dante's head turned. Their eyes met across the crowded gathering. Silver and hazel, predator and prey, destiny and disaster. Sarah watched his body go rigid, watched his nostrils flare, scenting the air, watched recognition dawn in those gorgeous eyes. He felt it too. The mate bond snapped into place like a physical thing, stealing the breath from her lungs. Around them, the celebration continued, wolves laughing and dancing and drinking. But in that moment, the world narrowed to just the two of them. He took a step toward her. Sarah's heart soared. Maybe it didn't matter that she was nobody. Maybe the bond was enough. Maybe... "Prince Dante," a cultured female voice cut through the crowd. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." A stunning alpha female appeared at his side, linking her arm through his. Blonde, beautiful, dripping with jewels. Lady Vivian Ashford, daughter of the most powerful pack in the Southern Realm. Sarah's mother gasped softly. "That's the woman they say he'll choose, to unite the territories." Choose. Not bond, not love, choose. Because princes made political alliances, not love matches. Everyone knew that. Sarah watched, frozen, as Lady Viviana pulled Prince Dante toward the centre of the gathering. As his eyes lingered on Sarah for one more heartbreaking moment before he turned away. As he let himself be led like a prize bull to auction. "They make a beautiful pair," someone said. "The realm will be united at last. I heard the formal announcement will come tonight." Tonight. He was going to choose Lady Vivian tonight. And Sarah, poor, nobody Sarah from the dying Moonstone Pack, would have to watch her mate pledge himself to another woman. She should leave. Should run before the bond became common knowledge, before the humiliation became complete. But her wolf wouldn't let her. Couldn't bear to walk away from their mate, even if he was choosing someone else. So she stayed. She stayed and watched as Prince Dante and Lady Vivienne danced, as they moved together like they'd been made for it, beautiful and powerful and perfect. She stayed as the Alpha King, Dante's father, a cruel man with hard eyes, raised his glass and called for silence. "Tonight we celebrate more than the harvest," the old king announced. "Tonight my son, Prince Dante Blackwood, will announce his chosen mate, a union that will bring peace and prosperity to all our territories." Sarah's nails dug into her palms. Prince Dante stepped forward. His face was carefully blank, revealing nothing. But Sarah could feel his emotions through the bond: resignation, duty, and underneath it all, a howling grief. He felt the mate bond, knew she was there, and he was going to reject it anyway. "I have considered carefully," Dante said, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. "The realm needs strength, unity, a mate who can stand beside me as we rebuild what war has destroyed." "Please," Sarah's wolf whimpered, "please don't do this." "Lady Vivian Ashford," Dante continued, turning to the blonde alpha, "will you accept my formal courtship with the intention of a mating bond?" Lady Vivian smiled, triumphant. "I will." The crowd erupted in cheers, and something inside Sarah shattered. She felt it, the mate bond, still new and fragile, cracking under the weight of his choice. It didn't break completely, couldn't not without a formal rejection. But the pain was enough to drive her to her knees. "Sarah," her mother caught her, "what's wrong? I need to leave. Please, I need—" "Is she unwell?" A concerned Beta approached them. "Just overwhelmed," her mother said quickly. "The crowds, we'll get some air." But as her mother helped her toward the edge of the gathering, Sarah looked back one last time and found Prince Dante staring at her. Even from this distance, she could see the anguish in his eyes, the silent apology, the helpless fury of a man trapped by duty. He'd felt the bond crack too, but he didn't come after her, didn't stop his father's announcement, didn't choose her over the political alliance that would save the realm. He just watched her go, and Sarah ran. She made it 3 weeks before she discovered the pregnancy. 3 weeks of hiding in her pack's territory, trying to hold herself together while the unfinished mate bond tore at her soul. 3 weeks of her wolf howling for a mate who'd chosen someone else. 3 weeks before she threw up her breakfast and realized the worst had happened. "It's not possible," she whispered to the pack healer. We didn't." "The mate bond can be powerful," the old woman said gently. "Sometimes just being in proximity during the initial snap is enough, especially for compatible pairs. Your biology recognized him as your mate, and your body acted accordingly." Sarah's hands shook as they settled on her still flat stomach. "But he's chosen another. He's going to mate with Lady Vivian." "Has he completed the bond?" "No, but—" "Then there's still time. You need to tell him." "I can't, child. He has a right to know about his pup." "He made his choice." Sarah's voice cracked. "He chose power over the mate bond. What do you think he'll do when he finds out I'm carrying his heir? The scandal would destroy his alliance, destroy everything he's trying to build." The healer's eyes were sad. "Then what will you do?" Sarah didn't know, couldn't think past the terror clawing at her throat. She was carrying the future king's child, a pup that should never have been conceived, a living, breathing threat to the political alliance that was supposed to save the realm. If anyone found out, they'd force her to abort. Or worse, they'd take the child and raise it in the court while discarding Sarah like garbage. She wouldn't let that happen. So she ran again. She packed what little she owned, stole enough coin to buy passage north, and disappeared in the middle of the night. Her mother begged her to stay. Her pack needed her, but Sarah needed to survive. And survival meant putting as much distance between herself and Prince Dante as possible. She never told anyone who the father was, never mentioned the mate bond or the mating ceremony or the prince who'd broken her heart. She just ran. And 9 months later, in a charity clinic in the Northern Realm's poorest district, she gave birth to a baby girl with silver eyes. Present day, Sarah jerked awake, her heart pounding. The nightmare was always the same. The mating ceremony, the announcement. The moment Prince Dante chose duty over destiny. Except now it was worse, because now she had to face him every day, had to work in his chambers, breathe his scent, feel the mate bond pulling at her like a living thing. "Mama," Maya's sleepy voice came from the other bed. "Bad dream? Just memories, baby. Go back to sleep. Their new rooms in the Omega Wing were beautiful, far nicer than anything Sarah had ever lived in. 2 bedrooms, a sitting area, a private bathroom with an actual tub. Luxuries that should have made her grateful. Instead, they felt like a gilded cage. Because these rooms came with guards posted outside the door, with restrictions on where she could go, who she could talk to, with the constant awareness that she was being watched, protected, Dante had said. Imprisoned, Sarah thought. She rose and dressed in the new uniform the head housekeeper had provided. It was nicer than her old servant's clothes, deep blue with silver trim, the king's colours, another mark of ownership. She braided her hair, checked on Maya one more time, then slipped out past the guards. Dawn was just breaking as she made her way through the quiet palace corridors. Most servants were still asleep, but Sarah had been ordered to arrive early, to clean the king's chambers before he woke, to be alone with her mate in his most private space. Her hand shook as she approached his door. She could do this. She'd survived worse. She just needed to keep her head down, do her work, and get out before. The door opened. Dante stood there, bare-chested, sleep-rumpled, looking at her with eyes that saw too much. "You're early," he said. "I wanted to finish before you woke." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "I don't sleep much." He stepped aside, gesturing her in. "Come." Sarah's wolf whimpered as she crossed the threshold. His scent was everywhere. Pine and steel and wild, lonely wolf. The mate bond pulled at her, urging her closer. She ignored it. "Where should I start?" she asked, keeping her eyes down. "Look at me." It wasn't an alpha command, but close. Sarah forced herself to meet his gaze. He stood in a shaft of early morning light, all dangerous beauty and controlled power. A thin scar ran along his ribs, some old battle wound. His dark hair was mussed from sleep, making him look younger, almost vulnerable. "Do I frighten you?" he asked quietly. "Yes." "No, Your Majesty. Dante. When we're alone, call me Dante." "That wouldn't be appropriate. Neither is having your scent wrapped around my bed, making my wolf lose his mind." He moved closer. "But here we are." Sarah stepped back. "I'll clean quickly and leave." "I don't want you to leave." "Your Majesty." "Dante, this can't happen. You have a promised mate. You have duties, responsibilities. I'm just mine." The word was almost a growl. "You're mine, Sarah. My wolf knows it. My blood knows it, even if my head is still catching up. You don't know anything about me. Then tell me. Help me understand why you're so terrified all the time. Because 5 years ago, you broke my heart. Because I'm carrying the secret that could destroy us both. Because loving you means losing everything." "I'm not terrified," she lied. "You're shaking." She was. Damn it, she was. Dante reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand cupped her cheek. The touch sent electricity through her, the mate bond singing with rightness. "I remember you," he said softly, "from 5 years ago. The harvest moon ceremony." Sarah's heart stopped. "I don't know what you're—" "I felt it. The bond. I saw you across the crowd, and everything else disappeared." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "You were wearing a blue dress, flowers in your hair, and when our eyes met, I knew my life had just changed forever. You chose Lady Vivian. I chose duty." His jaw clenched. "I was my father's weapon, his political tool. I didn't have the luxury of choosing my own mate, so I did what was expected. Made the alliance, tried to forget the Omega who'd looked at me like I hung the moon. But you didn't forget. No, I've thought about you every day for 5 years. Wondered where you were, if you'd found another mate, if you hated me." He leaned closer, his forehead almost touching hers. "And then you appeared in my courtyard, and the bond slammed into me all over again, stronger this time, impossible to deny." Sarah closed her eyes, fighting tears. "You should still choose duty." "I tried that. It made me miserable, made everyone around me miserable." His hands framed her face. "I won't make that mistake twice. But Maya, I'll claim her too, raise her as my own, give her every protection, every advantage. She's already yours." The words burst out before Sarah could stop them. Dante froze. "What?" No? No, no, no. She hadn't meant to say it, hadn't meant to, but the secret was too heavy, too poisonous, and she was so tired of running. Maya, she whispered, she's your daughter, Dante. She always has been. The silence was deafening. Sarah watched emotions flash across his face, shock, disbelief, calculation. Watched him count back in his head, remember the timeline. The ceremony, he said slowly, 5 years ago. You felt the bond snap into place? Yes. And you conceived from just that? The healer said it was rare but possible, when mates are particularly compatible, when the bond is strong enough. She swallowed hard. I didn't know until 3 weeks later. By then, you'd already announced your formal courtship with Lady Vivian. You should have told me. And ruined your alliance? Destroyed the peace you were trying to build? She pulled away from his touch. You made your choice, Dante. I just protected what was mine. She's our daughter. She's been my daughter for 4 years while you played politics with Lady Vivienne. The accusation hung between them, sharp and true. Dante's hands clenched into fists. You hid my child from me. You chose another woman over the mate bond. I didn't know you were pregnant. Would it have mattered? Sarah's voice cracked. Would you have walked away from the alliance? Risked war? Risked everything for a nobody Omega carrying your bastard? Don't call her that. That's what the court will call her. What Lady Vivian will call her. What everyone will say when the truth comes out. Sarah's hands shook. She'll be labelled a bastard, a scandal, a political liability, and you'll have to choose again, duty or family, power or love. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. You think I wanted this? To raise our daughter alone, to hide and run and live in fear? To watch you with another woman while our mate bond tore me apart? Dante looked stricken. Sarah, a knock at the door interrupted them. Your Majesty? Beta Marcus's voice called through the wood. You have an urgent meeting with the council. Dante's jaw clenched. I'm busy. It's Lady Vivian's father, sire. He's demanding an audience about the situation. The situation, meaning Sarah. I'll be there shortly. Footsteps retreated. Dante turned back to Sarah, his eyes desperate. We're not done with this conversation. Yes, we are. You have your duties. I have mine. She grabbed her cleaning supplies, needing something to do with her shaking hands. Go handle your council meeting, Your Majesty. Damn the council. We need to talk about Maya, about us, about... There is no us. There's a king and a servant and a child who should never have been born. Sarah's voice turned hard. Now go. Before your promised mate's father declares war. For a moment, she thought he'd refuse. Thought he'd stay and demand answers and force her to face the mess they'd created. But duty won. It always did. Dante grabbed a shirt, pulled it on with jerky movements, paused at the door. This isn't over, he said quietly. I'll break the alliance with Lady Vivian. I'll claim you publicly. You'll destroy everything you've worked for. Then I'll build something new, something better, with you. Before she could respond, he was gone. Sarah stood alone in his chambers, shaking so hard she had to sit down. She'd just told him the truth. After 5 years of hiding, of running, of lying, she'd finally told him. And now everything was going to fall apart. Sarah worked on autopilot, cleaning surfaces that were already spotless. Anything to keep her hands busy and her mind from spiraling. She'd just finished making his bed when she heard the door creak open. Her heart lurched. Had Dante come back? Was he... Mama! Sarah whirled to find Maya standing in the doorway, still in her nightgown, her silver eyes wide with wonder. Maya, what are you doing here? You're supposed to stay in our rooms. I got lost looking for the kitchen. Her daughter wandered further in, staring at the high ceilings and grand furniture. Is this where the king sleeps? Yes, baby, and you shouldn't be here. Come on, we need to go before... But Maya had already spotted the weapons mounted on the wall. She moved toward them with the fearless curiosity of a 4-year-old. Don't touch those. Sarah caught her hand. They're very sharp and very dangerous. Like the king? Despite everything. Sarah almost smiled. Yes, like the king. But he was nice to me, remember? He promised not to hurt you. I remember. Do you think he'd teach me to fight? I want to be strong like—" The door slammed open, but it wasn't Dante who entered. It was Lady Vivian, flanked by 2 Alpha guards and wearing an expression of cold fury. Her eyes locked onto Maya, then Sarah, then swept the intimate scene. Sarah in the king's chambers, alone, with a child. "How touching," Lady Vivian said, her voice dripping venom. "The Omega servant, making herself at home in my future mate's private chambers, with her bastard pup." Sarah stepped in front of Maya. "We were just leaving." "I'm sure you were, after you'd finished pawing through the king's belongings? Stealing, perhaps? Planting evidence of intimacy?" "I'm cleaning." "As I was ordered." "Ordered." Lady Vivian laughed, sharp and cruel. "Is that what we're calling it? Because the entire court has a different name for what you're doing." Sarah's cheeks burned. "Think what you want." "Oh, I don't need to think. I have eyes, and so does everyone else." She circled closer, looking at Sarah like she was something scraped off a shoe. "You're trying to seduce your way into the king's bed. It's pathetic." "Mama," Maya's small voice was frightened. Lady Vivian's gaze dropped to the child for the first time, really looked at her. And Sarah watched in horror as recognition flickered across the Alpha's beautiful face. Because Maya had inherited her father's eyes, the distinctive Blackwood silver that had been in the royal bloodline for generations. "Those eyes," Lady Vivian breathed. "She has—" "But that's impossible, unless—" Sarah grabbed Maya's hand. "We're leaving." "You're not going anywhere." Lady Vivian blocked the door, her guards moving to flank her. "How old is your daughter?" "That's none of your business." "How old?" 4. Sarah watched Lady Vivian calculate 4 years, which meant conception 5 years ago, which meant— "The harvest moon ceremony," Lady Vivian said slowly. "You were there, weren't you? In the Eastern Territories. That's where I saw you. Some nobody Omega in a cheap dress staring at Dante like he was the answer to your prayers." "Oh, gods," she remembered. "I left early," Sarah said carefully. "I was unwell." "Because you felt the mate bond." "It wasn't a question. You felt it and you conceived from it. And you've been hiding his bastard for 4 years while I've been his promised mate. Please, does he know?" Lady Vivian's smile was vicious. "Of course he doesn't. You've been lying to him, haven't you? Pretending the pup's father is dead. Worming your way into his chambers, his protection, his heart. All while hiding the biggest secret of all. It's not like that. It's exactly like that." Lady Vivian's power slammed into the room, making Maya whimper. "You're a scheming, lying, conniving little Omega who's trying to steal my mate with a bastard pup." "She's not a bastard," Sarah said through clenched teeth. "She's his daughter, his heir. And you know it." The slap came out of nowhere. Sarah's head snapped to the side, her cheek burning. She'd released Maya's hand when she fell, and now her daughter was crying, reaching for her. "Mama, that's for thinking you could ever replace me." Lady Vivian leaned down, her voice deadly soft. "I don't care if that pup has Blackwood blood. I don't care if you felt the mate bond. You're nothing, Sarah, a servant, a nobody, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what you've done." She straightened, addressing her guards. "Escort this Omega and her bastard back to their rooms, and post guards. I want to know everyone who visits them, every word they speak. You can't— I can do whatever I want. I'm the Alpha King's promised mate." Lady Vivian's smile was pure poison. "And you, little Omega, just made a powerful enemy." She swept out, leaving Sarah on the floor with her sobbing daughter. The guards hauled Sarah to her feet, not gently. "Come on," one muttered. "Before the king returns and we all get blamed for this." Sarah gathered Maya into her arms, her daughter's tears soaking into her uniform. She could feel her own tears threatening, but she held them back. Not here, not in front of Lady Vivian's guards. But as they were marched back through the corridors, Sarah's mind raced. Lady Vivian knew, maybe not all of it, but enough. Enough to be dangerous. And when she told her father, when she demanded Dante choose between his alliance and his hidden daughter, the carefully balanced peace would shatter, and Sarah would lose everything all over again. Chapter 4. Dante couldn't stop thinking about the child's eyes. He sat through the council meeting with Vivian's father, Lord Ashford, all bluster and political manoeuvring, and heard none of it. Nodded at appropriate moments. Made vague agreements. Let Beta Marcus handle the details. Because all he could see was Maya's face. Those silver eyes looking up at him with such trust. Blackwood silver. His bloodline had carried that distinctive shade for 12 generations. It was rare, precious, a mark of pure royal descent. He had it, his father had it, his grandfather before him, and a 4-year-old pup with no documented father had it too. Your Majesty? Marcus's voice cut through his thoughts. Lord Ashford is waiting for your response. Dante blinked, focusing on the pompous alpha across the table. What was the question? Lord Ashford's face reddened. I asked when you intend to formalize the mating bond with my daughter. She's been your promised mate for 5 years, yet you've made no move to complete the ceremony. Because I've been waiting to die inside completely before shackling myself to a loveless bond. The timing hasn't been right, Dante said carefully. And when will the timing be right? After you've finished bedding every Omega servant in the palace? The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Marcus stepped forward. Lord Ashford, you will watch your tone when addressing the king. I'll watch my tone when he starts acting like one. The older alpha stood, fists planted on the table. My daughter has been patient, understanding. She's endured your coldness, your distance, your complete lack of interest in her. But this? Assigning some Omega whore to clean your private chambers? Making a spectacle of her in front of the entire court? This is an insult too far. Dante's wolf surged forward, demanding blood. Call her that again, he said softly, and I'll remove your tongue. Her? Which her? My daughter, who you've humiliated, or the Omega you're so obviously obsessed with? Both, actually. Dante stood, his power filling the room. But if you think I'll tolerate you speaking about either woman with such disrespect, you've severely miscalculated. Lord Ashford's face went from red to purple. You forget yourself, boy. My alliance holds 3 territories. Without it, your realm falls apart. Then let it fall. The words came out before Dante could stop them. I'm done sacrificing my life for political convenience. Silence. Marcus looked like he wanted to strangle him. Lord Ashford looked apoplectic, and Dante felt for the first time in 5 years, free. You're out of your mind, Lord Ashford sputtered. You'd throw away everything, peace, prosperity, unity, for what? An Omega servant? For my mate. The admission hung in the air like a bomb. Marcus's eyes widened. Lord Ashford went still, calculating. You felt the bond, the older alpha said slowly, with the servant. Her name is Sarah. I don't care if her name is the moon goddess herself. She's unsuitable, a nobody with a bastard pup and no connections. Lord Ashford leaned forward. You'll ruin yourself for her, Dante. Lose everything you've built. I'm already ruined. Dante met his eyes. The bond won't let me walk away, believe me, I've tried. Then reject her formally, break the bond. The suggestion made Dante's wolf howl in rage. Never. You're being foolish? I'm being honest. Dante moved toward the door. Done with this conversation. Tell your daughter the engagement is over. She deserves better than a mate who can't love her. You'll start a war. Then I'll fight it. He left Lord Ashford sputtering threats and Marcus looking like he'd aged 10 years. But as Dante stalked through the corridors, his mind wasn't on politics or alliances or the mess he'd just created. It was on silver eyes and a 4-year-old pup who'd called him scary but hadn't been afraid. He found Marcus in his study an hour later. I need you to investigate someone, Dante said without preamble. His beta looked exhausted. Your Majesty, we need to talk about what just happened with Lord Ashford. Later. Right now, I need information on Sarah. The Omega servant. My mate, Dante corrected. I need to know everything. Where she came from. When she arrived at the palace. What happened before. Marcus's expression shifted. You think she's hiding something? I know she is. She won't tell me her full name. Won't talk about Maya's father. She's terrified all the time, like she's waiting for someone to find her. Dante paced the room. And that child has Blackwood eyes. Sire, don't tell me it's a coincidence. Don't tell me other bloodlines carry that shade. We both know they don't. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. What are you asking me to find? The truth. Dante stopped pacing, meeting his beta's eyes. I need to know if Maya is mine. And if she is? Then I've been lied to for 4 years, kept from my own daughter while Sarah raised her alone. His hands clenched. I need to know, Marcus. His beta nodded slowly. I'll start immediately, but Dante, if the child is yours, if Sarah conceived at the Harvest Moon ceremony 5 years ago, then I got her pregnant and abandoned her while I courted another woman. The guilt was a physical weight. I know, but I can't change the past. I can only try to fix the present. By breaking your alliance with the Ashfords. It was never going to work anyway. Vivienne deserves a mate who can love her, and I... He looked out the window toward the Omega wing. I've been half dead for 5 years. I won't keep living like that. Marcus sighed. I'll get you the information, but be prepared. The truth might be worse than you imagine. It usually is. Sarah didn't leave her rooms for 3 days. Lady Vivian's guards were posted outside, watching her every move. Servants who used to smile at her now hurried past without making eye contact. The meals brought to her door were cold, deliberately late. The court had turned against her. Maya didn't understand why they couldn't go outside, why the other children wouldn't play with her anymore, why Mama kept crying when she thought Maya was asleep. I'm sorry, baby, Sarah whispered, holding her daughter close. I'm so sorry I brought you into this. It's not your fault, Mama. Maya patted her cheek with small hands. The pretty mean lady is just jealous. Out of the mouths of babes. How do you know she's jealous? Because you're prettier, and the king likes you better. Maya said it with the absolute certainty of a child. She's mad about it. Sarah wished it were that simple. On the 4th day, old Marta managed to slip past the guards. You need to eat, the cook said, shoving a basket of fresh bread and fruit at her. You're wasting away. I can't stomach anything. Try anyway, for the little one. Marta glanced at Maya, who was playing with her rag doll in the corner. The court is vicious, child. Lady Vivian has been spreading rumours. Says you seduced the king with dark magic, that you're trying to trap him with a fake pregnancy. Sarah's laugh was bitter. I'm not pregnant. I know that. You know that. But the court will believe what they want to believe. Marta's weathered hand squeezed hers. Be careful. Vivienne is dangerous when threatened. What can she do? I'm already a prisoner in my own rooms. Marta's eyes were worried. She can do worse than this. Much worse. The old woman left before the guards could chase her away, and Sarah was alone again with her daughter and her fears. She lasted until nightfall before she couldn't take it anymore. Maya was asleep, finally. The guards outside her door had changed shifts, and Sarah needed air, needed to move, needed to feel like she wasn't suffocating. She slipped out through the servants' entrance, the one most people forgot about. Moved through the darkened corridors toward the gardens. Just 10 minutes. 10 minutes of fresh air, and she'd go back. The gardens were empty this time of night, lit only by scattered torches. Sarah breathed in the scent of night-blooming flowers and felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. She'd been so stupid. Thinking she could hide here, thinking the king wouldn't notice her, thinking... The first attacker came from behind. Sarah felt the blade against her throat before she could scream. A hand clamped over her mouth. Quiet! Omega, a male voice hissed. This'll be quick if you don't fight. Terror flooded her system. Her wolf surged forward, desperate to defend herself. She bit down hard on the hand covering her mouth, tasted blood. The attacker cursed and his grip loosened just enough. Sarah drove her elbow into his gut and ran. But there were more of them. 3 alphas, all wearing masks, all moving to surround her. Nowhere to go, one taunted. Should have stayed in your rooms, little Omega. Who sent you? She backed toward a wall, searching for a weapon. Anything. Does it matter? You've made powerful enemies. They advanced. Sarah's mind raced. She couldn't fight 3 alphas, couldn't outrun them, couldn't. The first one lunged. Sarah dodged barely. His claws raked across her arm, leaving burning lines of pain. She kicked out, connected with someone's knee. Heard a satisfying crunch. But then there were hands in her hair, yanking her back. A fist to her stomach that drove the air from her lungs. She was going to die here, and Maya would wake up tomorrow with no mother. No. Sarah fought like a wild thing, bit and scratched and kicked, drew blood, made them work for it. But she was 1 Omega against 3 trained alphas. It wasn't a fair fight. One of them had her pinned against the wall, his knife at her throat. Should have known your place, Omega. Should have stayed invisible. The blade bit into her skin. Sarah felt blood trickle down her neck. This was it. Then the attacker's head simply disappeared. One moment he was there, leering at her. The next, his body crumpled and his head rolled across the garden path. And behind where he'd been standing was Dante, drenched in blood, his eyes pure silver with wolf rage. "Mine!" he growled. The other two attackers froze. "Your Majesty? We were just—" Dante moved like death incarnate. His claws ripped through the second attacker's chest, tearing out his heart. The Alpha didn't even have time to scream. The third tried to run. Dante caught him by the throat, lifted him off his feet. "Who sent you?" I don't, please." "Who sent you?" "Lady Vivian. She paid us. Said the Omega needed to be taught a lesson." Dante's smile was terrifying. "Consider the lesson learned." He broke the Alpha's neck with one hand and let the body drop. Then he was moving towards Sarah, his blood-soaked hands reaching for her. She should have been terrified, should have run from the monster who'd just slaughtered 3 men without hesitation. Instead, she collapsed into his arms. "You're hurt," Dante said, his voice rough. His fingers found the cut on her throat, the claw marks on her arm. "They hurt you." "I'm okay, You're bleeding." He pulled her closer, scenting her, checking for other injuries. His wolf was still riding him hard, demanding he protect, claim, destroy anything that threatened what was his. "Dante, I'm fine. You saved me. I should have been there sooner, should have had better guards on you, should have—" His voice cracked. "You could have died. But I didn't." Sarah's hands found his face, forcing him to look at her. "You saved me." Their eyes met, silver and hazel, mate and mate. And Sarah felt it, the bond, stronger than ever, pulling them together with a force that couldn't be denied. "I can't lose you," Dante whispered. "I just found you. You can't keep me either. Your alliance, and damn the alliance, damn Vivienne, damn everything but this." He kissed her then, fierce and desperate, tasting like blood and violence and possession, and Sarah kissed him back because she'd wanted this for 5 years, wanted him, wanted to believe they could have a future together, even though she knew it was impossible. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "I'm going to find out who you really are," he said quietly. "Every secret you're hiding, every truth you've kept from me. I know, and when I do, we're going to have a very long conversation about trust." "I know that too." He pulled back, studying her face. "Are you afraid of me?" "I should be. You just killed 3 men. They tried to kill you. I'd slaughter hundreds for you." He said it like it was simple, obvious. "Does that frighten you?" No. And it didn't, because she understood finally what it meant to have a mate, someone who would burn the world down to keep you safe. "It makes me feel protected." "Good." His thumb brushed her cheek. "Because I'm going to protect you, Sarah, whether you want me to or not." Guards arrived then, summoned by the commotion. They took one look at the carnage and went pale. "Clean this up," Dante ordered, "and bring Lady Vivian to the throne room, now." "Sire, it's the middle of the night." "I don't care if it's the end of the world. Bring her, and bring her father." The guards scattered. Dante turned back to Sarah. "Can you walk?" "Yes." "Good, because you're coming with me. I want Vivian to see exactly who she tried to kill." The throne room filled quickly. Word spread that the king had killed 3 men in the gardens, that the Omega servant had been attacked, that Lady Vivian was being summoned in the middle of the night. Court members arrived in various states of undress, all desperate to witness the drama. Sarah stood beside the throne, Dante's hand on her shoulder, possessive, claiming, making a statement to everyone watching. "This Omega is mine. Touch her and die." Lady Vivian swept in 20 minutes later, her father behind her. She was dressed immaculately despite the hour, not a hair out of place. But her eyes went wide when she saw the blood on Dante's clothes, the bodies being carried out on stretchers. "Your Majesty," she said carefully. "What's happened?" "You know what happened." Dante's voice was cold as death. "You paid 3 alphas to attack my mate." Gasps echoed through the room. "Mate?" Lord Ashford sputtered. "You can't—" I can, and I have. The bond is sealed. A lie, but close enough to the truth. Sarah is under my protection, and anyone who harms her will face my wrath. Vivian's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. They confessed before I killed them. They were lying, trying to save themselves. Were they? Dante descended from the throne, moving toward her with predatory grace. Tell me, Vivian, why would 3 random alphas decide to attack a lowly servant in my gardens? What would they gain? I don't know. Perhaps they were criminals. Or perhaps they were following orders from a jealous alpha who felt threatened by an omega. He stopped in front of her. You've been spreading rumors about Sarah, poisoning the court against her, blocking her rooms with guards, and when that wasn't enough, you tried to have her killed? That's not true. Then swear it. Dante's eyes were cold. Swear on your pack's honor that you had nothing to do with tonight's attack. Vivian's mouth opened, closed. Her father stepped forward. You can't ask her to. I can ask whatever I want. I'm the king. Dante's gaze never left Vivian. Swear it, and I'll believe you. Refuse, and I'll know you're guilty. The silence stretched. Finally, Vivian's shoulders sagged. I didn't tell them to kill her, just frighten her. Make her understand she didn't belong here. The admission rippled through the crowd. You hired them, Dante said flatly. I was protecting what's mine. You're my promised mate, and she's nothing. A servant trying to steal you away? She didn't steal anything. The mate bond chose her. Dante's voice was hard. And you just tried to murder her because you were jealous. I was protecting my position. By committing treason? Dante turned to the guards. Arrest her. What? No? Vivian backed away. You can't. I can. You ordered an attack on the king's mate. That's treason, and the penalty is death. Lord Ashford exploded. You wouldn't dare. My daughter made a mistake, but she doesn't deserve. She tried to kill an innocent woman, an Omega servant who seduced you with lies. The older Alpha's face was mottled with rage. My daughter has been your promised mate for 5 years. She's endured your coldness, your neglect, your complete disinterest. And now you'd execute her for one moment of poor judgment? Poor judgment? Sarah found her voice, stepping forward. She tried to have me killed because I threatened her political marriage. Because you're a scheming whore who trapped him with a bastard pup. The insult hung in the air. Dante moved so fast, Sarah barely saw it. One moment Lord Ashford was standing. The next, Dante had him by the throat against the wall. Say one more word about my daughter, Dante growled, and I'll rip out your spine. Everyone froze, because Dante had just claimed Maya. Publicly, in front of the entire court. Lord Ashford's eyes bulged. Your daughter? Mine. Dante's voice was pure alpha dominance. The pup has my eyes, my blood, my protection. And if you think I'll let you or anyone else call her a bastard, you're mistaken. He dropped the older alpha, who collapsed coughing. Sarah's heart hammered. He'd done it. He'd claimed Maya without even knowing the full truth, based only on silver eyes and protective instinct. Dante, she whispered, you don't have to. I do. He turned to her, his expression fierce. Because she's mine, isn't she? Maya, my daughter. This was it, the moment of truth. Sarah could lie, could deny it one more time, keep her secrets buried, or she could finally tell the truth. Yes, she whispered, she's yours. The throne room erupted. Dante didn't seem to hear the chaos. He just stared at Sarah, emotions warring across his face. How long have you known? Since the beginning? Since I ran from the Harvest Moon ceremony. You were pregnant, with my child, and you said nothing. You'd chosen Vivian. What was I supposed to do? Ruin your alliance with a scandal? You were supposed to tell me. His voice cracked. I had a right to know. You gave up that right when you chose duty over the mate bond. They stood there, 5 years of pain and anger and longing between them. Beta Marcus cleared his throat. Your Majesty, perhaps this conversation should continue in private. No. Dante's eyes never left Sarah. She's kept secrets long enough. I want the truth. All of it. Now. You want the truth? Sarah felt her control snap. Fine. The truth is that 5 years ago I felt the mate bond snap into place with a prince I'd never met. The truth is that I watched you choose another woman while our bond tore me apart. The truth is that I discovered I was pregnant 3 weeks later and knew that telling you would destroy everything you were trying to build. Tears streamed down her face now, but she didn't care. The truth is that I've raised our daughter alone for 4 years while you played politics with your promised mate. The truth is that I've loved you since the moment our eyes met, and it's destroyed me because you were never mine to love. Her voice broke. So yes, Dante, Maya is yours. She's always been yours. And I've been hiding it because telling you would mean losing her, losing everything. The silence was absolute. Dante looked stricken, broken, like she'd driven a blade through his heart. I would never take her from you, he said hoarsely. You're the king. You can do whatever you want. I would never. Your Majesty. A servant burst through the doors, wild-eyed. Your Majesty, it's Lady Vivian. She's collapsed. Everyone turned. Vivian was on the ground, her father kneeling beside her. Get the healer, Lord Ashford shouted. Quickly! Dante moved toward them, his expression shifting to concern. For all their conflict, he wasn't cruel enough to let someone suffer. The healer arrived within minutes, kneeling beside Vivienne, checked her pulse, her breathing, then the old woman's face went carefully blank. Well? Lord Ashford demanded. What's wrong with her? The healer looked at Dante, at Sarah, at the assembled court. Lady Vivian is pregnant, she announced, approximately 6 weeks along. The world tilted. Sarah felt the words hit her like a physical blow. Pregnant. Vivian was pregnant, which meant Dante had slept with her, recently, while claiming Sarah as his mate. She looked at him, betrayal and hurt warring in her chest. Dante's face had gone white. That's impossible. I assure you, Your Majesty, she's definitely... I haven't touched her. His voice was hard, desperate. Not in months, not since. He turned to Vivian, who was being helped to her feet. Tell them the truth. Vivian's hand settled on her stomach. Her smile was small, triumphant. I'm carrying your heir, Dante, she said softly. Our child. Created from the one night 6 weeks ago when you came to my chambers, drunk and grieving. Don't you remember? No. Sarah's wolf howled in denial, but Dante's expression shifted. Uncertainty, a flicker of doubt. I was drunk after the council meeting, he said slowly. But I went to my chambers. I didn't. You came to mine first. You said you wanted to forget, to feel something besides numbness. Vivian's eyes were knowing, and I gave you what you needed. No, I would remember. Would you? You could barely stand. I helped you to my bed. She trailed off delicately. It was brief, but apparently effective. Lord Ashford's expression transformed from fury to calculation. She's carrying the king's heir. The formal mating must proceed immediately. I didn't sleep with her, Dante said, but his voice lacked certainty. And Sarah saw it. The doubt, the guilt, the possibility that maybe, in a moment of weakness, he had. She'd lost him before she'd ever really had him. Congratulations, Your Majesty, she heard herself say. Her voice sounded like it was coming from far away. On your heir. Sarah, I need to check on Maya. She backed toward the door, needing to escape before she shattered completely. Excuse me. Sarah, wait. I wouldn't. But she was already running like she'd been running for 5 years. Except this time, there was nowhere left to hide. Chapter 5. Sarah didn't stop running until she reached her rooms. She slammed the door, locked it, and pressed her back against the wood. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. Vivian was pregnant, with Dante's child. The mate bond screamed in protest, insisting it wasn't true, couldn't be true. But Sarah had seen his face, the doubt, the possibility that maybe, in some drunken moment, he'd gone to Vivian's bed. And now there would be an heir. A legitimate heir from a proper alpha bloodline. Not a bastard pup conceived from a mate bond the king had tried to ignore for 5 years. Mama? Sarah looked up to find Maya standing in her nightgown, rubbing sleep from her eyes. those silver blackwood eyes that marked her as Dante's daughter. "Why are you crying? Come here, baby." Sarah gathered her daughter into her arms, breathing in her sweet scent. "We need to talk." "About the king?" "About everything." Sarah carried Maya to the bed, settling them both. "How would you feel about going on an adventure? Just you and me?" Maya's face lit up. "Like in the stories?" "Just like the stories." Sarah forced a smile. "We'd travel far away, see new places, meet new people." "What about the king? He said he'd protect us." Sarah's throat tightened. "The king has other responsibilities now, other people to protect." "But he's my—" Maya stopped, her little face scrunching in confusion. "Mama, why does the king have the same eyes as me?" "Because he's your father. Because I've been lying to you for 4 years. Because everything is falling apart. Sometimes people just look alike, sweetheart." "But old Marta said—" A knock at the door interrupted them, sharp, insistent, commanding. Sarah knew that knock, had felt it vibrate through her bones. "Sarah." Dante's voice, rough with emotion. "Open the door. Go away. I'm not leaving until we talk." "There's nothing to talk about. You have a mate now, a proper one. Congratulations." "She's not my mate. You are. Tell that to your unborn child." Silence. Then, "I don't remember sleeping with her. I was drunk, yes, but not that drunk. Something isn't right." "It doesn't matter." Sarah's voice cracked. "Right or wrong. She's carrying your heir. The court will demand you mate with her, legitimize the child, and Maya and I will be, what? Your dirty secret? The hidden Omega and her bastard daughter? Maya is my daughter too. A daughter you didn't know about until yesterday. A daughter born from a mate bond you rejected." Sarah was shouting now, all her pain and anger spilling out. "You don't get to claim us now, Dante. Not when it's convenient. Not when there's another woman carrying your child. Sarah, please. No, we're done. Go be with Vivienne, give her what she wants, and leave us alone." She heard him breathing on the other side of the door, felt his struggle through the mate bond. "I can't leave you alone," he said quietly. "My wolf won't let me. The bond won't let me. I need you, Sarah. I've needed you for 5 years, and I was too much of a coward to fight for it. Well, it's too late now. It's never too late. We can—" "Your Majesty." Beta Marcus's voice echoed down the corridor. "Your Majesty, you're needed in the throne room, immediately." Dante cursed. "What now?" "Your mother has arrived." Sarah felt Dante go still on the other side of the door. "My mother is here." "Yes, sire, and she's demanding to see you. She's heard rumours." Of course she had. The former queen arriving just in time to witness her son's spectacular mess of a personal life. "I'll be right there." Dante's hand pressed against the door, like he could reach through it to touch Sarah. "This conversation isn't over." "Yes, it is." His footsteps retreated, and Sarah finally let herself cry. Former Queen Elara Blackwood was a force of nature. Dante stood in the throne room, watching his mother sweep through the doors like she still ruled the place. She was in her 50s, still beautiful, with silver-streaked dark hair and eyes that missed nothing. She'd abdicated the throne when his father died, claiming she'd done her duty and earned her peace. But she still commanded more respect than most active rulers. "Mother!" Dante descended from the throne to greet her properly. Elara studied him with sharp eyes, then pulled him into a fierce hug. "You look terrible. It's been a difficult week." "So I've heard." She pulled back, holding him at arm's length. "Something about a servant girl, a secret daughter, and your promised mate suddenly being pregnant. The rumour mill works fast. I have my sources." Her eyes swept the throne room, taking in the assembled court members who'd gathered to witness this reunion. "Where is she?" "Who?" "Your mate, obviously. The Omega everyone's whispering about." Dante's jaw clenched. "In her rooms. She won't see me." "Can't imagine why, with you creating such a spectacular disaster." Elara's tone was dry. "Where's the girl? Your daughter?" "With Sarah. Her name is Maya." "Silver eyes?" "Yes. Then she's definitely yours." Elara turned to the crowd. "Everyone out. I need to speak with my son privately." The court scattered like leaves in wind. No one argued with the former queen. When they were alone, Elara fixed Dante with a look that had terrified him as a child. "Tell me everything, and don't leave anything out." So he did. The harvest moon ceremony 5 years ago. The mate bond he'd felt and ignored. Choosing Vivian for political reasons. Finding Sarah in his palace 3 years later. Discovering Maya. The attack. Vivian's pregnancy announcement. All of it. Ilara listened without interrupting, her expression growing more concerned with each detail. "And you don't remember sleeping with Lady Vivienne 6 weeks ago?" she asked, when he finished. "I was drunk after a particularly brutal council meeting. I remember going to my chambers, but—" He ran a hand through his hair. "There's a blank space, a gap in my memory. Convenient. You think she's lying?" "I think powerful families have been known to fabricate pregnancies to secure political positions." Ilara's eyes were shrewd. The Ashford line has always been ambitious. And if they could tie their bloodline to the throne through a child, they'd control the realm. Exactly. She moved to the window, looking out over the courtyard. "But you felt the mate bond with this Sarah, a true bond." "Yes. And you rejected it for duty." Dante's chest ached. "I thought I was doing the right thing." "You were doing what your father would have done. Cold political calculation with no thought for the heart." Ilara's voice was sad. "I'd hoped you'd be different." "I'm trying to be. Now. But it might be too late. It's never too late to choose love." She turned to face him. "I want to meet her, your Omega, and my granddaughter. Sarah won't see anyone right now. She's hurt and scared and planning to run. Yes, I can imagine." Ilara moved toward the door. "Which is why I need to meet her before she disappears with your daughter. Come on." Sarah was packing when the knock came. Not Dante this time. Someone else, softer, but no less insistent. "Sarah?" A woman's voice, cultured, warm, with an edge of steel. "My name is Ilara. I'm Dante's mother. I'd very much like to meet you and my granddaughter." Sarah froze, a shirt half folded in her hands. The former queen was here, at her door. "I don't think that's a good idea, Your Grace." "Probably not, but I'm coming in anyway." The door opened. Sarah had forgotten to lock it after Dante left, and the former queen swept inside. Ilara Blackwood was stunning. Older, yes, but with a regal bearing that made Sarah feel like a child caught doing something wrong. The former queen's eyes swept the room, taking in the half-packed bags, Maya sleeping on the bed. Sarah's tear-stained face. "Running?" Ilara asked gently. "Surviving." "There's a difference?" The older woman moved to the bed, looking down at Maya. Her expression softened. "Oh, she has Dante's eyes, and his stubborn chin. She has a lot of him. May I?" Ilara gestured to the chair. Sarah nodded, unsure what else to do when a former queen asked permission. Ilara sat with natural grace, studying Sarah with those knowing eyes. "Tell me about the mate bond." "I don't—" "You felt it 5 years ago, at the harvest moon ceremony, the moment you saw my son." It wasn't a question. "I'm right, aren't I?" Sarah's throat tightened. "Yes." "And he felt it too? But he chose Lady Vivienne for political reasons?" "Yes, leaving you pregnant and alone. I didn't tell him. That was my choice. A choice born of pain, I imagine." Ilara leaned forward. "I need you to understand something, Sarah. Dante's father, my mate, was a cruel, ambitious man. He raised our son to see love as weakness and duty as everything. It's taken Dante years to even begin undoing that damage. He still chose Vivian. He did, and it was wrong. But he's trying to choose differently now." Ilara's eyes were kind. "The question is, will you let him?" "It doesn't matter what I want. Vivian is carrying his heir." "Is she?" The former queen's voice was sharp. "Or is she carrying a lie designed to trap him into a political marriage?" Sarah blinked. "You think she's faking it?" "I think the timing is remarkably convenient. I think my son has no memory of sleeping with her. And I think the Ashford family has always been willing to do whatever it takes to gain power." Ilara stood. "I'm going to investigate, quietly. But I need you to promise me something." "What?" "Don't run. Not yet. Give me 3 days to find the truth. And if the pregnancy is real, then you make your own choice about what comes next. But if it's fake—" Ilara's smile was sharp. "Then the Ashford family is going to learn what happens when you try to deceive the Blackwood line." Ilara worked fast. She had connections Dante didn't, sources who'd been loyal to her for decades, and she knew how to ask questions without raising suspicion. The healer who'd examined Vivian was easy to crack. A young beta, ambitious, eager to please the powerful Ashford family. "I just confirmed what Lord Ashford told me to confirm," she admitted when Elara cornered her. "I never actually examined Lady Vivian, just signed the documents. So there's no pregnancy." "I don't know." Lord Ashford provided test results, symptoms, everything looked legitimate, except you didn't verify any of it personally. The healer paled. "I could lose my position for this. You could lose your head for fraud." Elara's voice was cold. "But if you testify truthfully about what happened, I'll see that you're protected. Understood?" The healer nodded frantically. Next, Elara visited the palace guards who'd been on duty the night Dante allegedly visited Vivian's chambers. "I saw the king," one guard confirmed. "He was drunk, could barely walk. Lady Vivian's servants helped him inside." "Did you see him leave?" "No, Your Grace. I assumed he stayed the night." "You assumed. You didn't verify." The guard looked uncomfortable. "It wasn't my place to watch the king's private affairs." But another guard, an older beta who'd served the Blackwood family for 30 years, had a different story. "I was doing rounds," he told Elara quietly. "Saw the king stumble toward Lady Vivian's chambers, yes, but he never went in. Collapsed in the corridor before he reached the door. I helped him back to his own rooms." "You're certain?" "On my honour, Your Grace. The king was in his own bed within the hour, alone." Elara's eyes narrowed. "Then who was in Lady Vivian's chambers?" "I couldn't say, but I saw Lord Ashford leaving about an hour later. Looked pleased with himself." The pieces fell into place. Vivian wasn't pregnant. She'd fabricated the entire thing with her father's help, using dark magic to fake symptoms and forged documents to create evidence, all to trap Dante into a marriage that would give the Ashford family access to the throne. Elara felt cold fury settle in her chest. She'd seen this kind of manipulation before. Her own mate had used similar tactics to consolidate power, but the Blackwood line didn't forgive deception. She was heading to Dante's study to tell him everything when the dizziness hit. Elara stumbled, catching herself against the wall. Her heart raced, her vision blurred. Poison. She recognized the symptoms immediately. Someone had dosed her wine at dinner. She tried to call for help, but her voice came out as a whisper. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed in the corridor. "Help," she managed. "Someone. Help." Footsteps. Running. Voices calling her name. Then Dante was there, his face white with terror, as he knelt beside her. "Mother, what happened? Guards, get the healer." "No, time." Elara's hand found his, gripping tight. "Vivian. Not pregnant. Fake. All of it." "What? I don't understand." "Ashford conspiracy. Overthrow you. Poison." Her words were slurring. Whatever they'd given her was fast-acting, lethal. "Your true queen has always been the Omega." "Mother, hold on. The healer is coming." "Love her. Choose her. Don't make my mistakes." Elara's vision was fading. "Tell Maya, her grandmother, thought she was beautiful." "No, Mother, stay with me." But Elara was already slipping away, her last thought a prayer that her son would finally choose love over duty, that he'd protect his mate and daughter with the same fierce devotion his father had lacked, that the Blackwood line would finally break free from the cold politics that had poisoned it for generations. Then everything went dark. Sarah heard the commotion from her rooms. Shouting, running footsteps, the sound of Dante's voice raw with grief. She opened her door to find chaos in the corridors, guards racing past, servants crying. "What's happened?" she asked one of the maids. "The former queen," the girl sobbed. "She's been poisoned. She's dying." No. Sarah didn't think. She just ran toward the commotion, following the sounds of anguish until she found a crowd outside the royal wing. Beta Marcus stood at the entrance, his face grave. "No one enters. King's orders." "Please," Sarah begged. "I need to see him. He's with his mother. Marcus's voice cracked. "She's gone." The mate bond screamed with Dante's pain. Sarah felt it like a knife to her chest, his grief, his rage, his helpless fury. "Let me through. Sarah, this isn't the time. Let me through." Something in her voice must have convinced him because Marcus stepped aside. Sarah found Dante in his mother's chambers, kneeling beside the bed. Ilara lay still, peaceful, her eyes closed. Gone. "Dante," Sarah whispered. He didn't look up. She was poisoned. Someone poisoned her because she discovered the truth. What truth? Vivian isn't pregnant. It was all a lie. A fabrication to trap me into a political marriage. His voice was hollow. My mother figured it out, and they killed her for it. Sarah's blood ran cold. The Ashford family? They're planning a coup, using the false pregnancy to secure their bloodline on the throne. Dante finally looked at her, his eyes red with grief. She died protecting us, protecting you and Maya. Dante, I'm so sorry. Her last words were about you. He stood, moving toward Sarah. She said you were my true queen, that I should choose you, love you, not make her mistakes. Sarah's throat tightened. She just met me. She knew the mate bond when she saw it, knew what real love looked like. His hands framed her face. I've been an idiot, Sarah, blind and stupid and so focused on duty that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. Vivienne is a traitor. She and her family tried to overthrow me using deception and dark magic. They've probably been planning this for years. His thumbs brushed her cheeks. But I'm done playing their games. Done choosing politics over the people I love. What are you saying? I'm saying I want you. I've wanted you since the moment I saw you 5 years ago. I'm saying I love you. I love our daughter. And I'm going to make this right. You can't just, I'm the Alpha King. I can do whatever I want. His smile was fierce. And I want you as my mate, my queen, the mother of my children, all of them, present and future. The court will never accept it. The court can learn to accept it or find themselves a new king. Dante's forehead rested against hers. Traditional law says the true mate bond supersedes all other claims. My mother was right. You're my true queen, Sarah. You always have been. Sarah wanted to believe him, wanted to let herself hope. But she'd learned the hard way that hope was dangerous. What about the Ashford family? They won't just accept this. If they're planning a coup, then I'll crush them. Simple, absolute. But first I need to know, will you have me? Will you let me claim you properly this time? Make you my mate, my queen, the woman who rules beside me? I'm nobody, a servant. An Omega with no family, no connections. You're everything. His hands tightened on her face. Say yes, Sarah. Please. Give me a chance to make this right. She looked into his silver eyes and saw her future, saw love and protection and fierce devotion, saw a man who'd finally learned to choose his heart over his crown, saw home. Yes, she whispered, but Dante, if you hurt me again, I won't. I swear on my mother's grave, on my crown, on everything I am, I won't hurt you again. He kissed her then, soft and reverent. You and Maya are my pack now, my family, and I protect what's mine. Behind them, someone cleared their throat. Sarah turned to find Beta Marcus in the doorway, his expression grave. Sire, we have a problem. Lady Vivian and her father have fled the palace. They took a dozen guards loyal to their family and are heading for the southern territories. Dante's eyes went cold. How long ago? An hour, maybe 2. They probably left when they realized the former queen had discovered their deception. Then they're running scared. Dante turned to Sarah. I need to handle this. Can you go, do what you need to do? Sarah squeezed his hand. Maya and I will be here when you get back. Promise me you won't run. I promise. He kissed her once more, quick and hard, then strode toward Marcus. Gather the council. I want Lady Vivian and Lord Ashford arrested for treason, conspiracy, and the murder of the former queen. Send riders to every territory. Anyone who aids them will be considered an enemy of the crown. Yes, sire. And Marcus, prepare for war. The Ashford family won't go quietly. Sarah watched him go, her heart heavy, because she knew what was coming. The Ashfords had 3 territories under their control, powerful allies, and nothing left to lose. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. And somewhere in the chaos, someone was still planning to destroy everything Dante had built. Someone who knew all his secrets, all his weaknesses. Someone who'd been patient enough to wait 5 years for the perfect moment to strike. Sarah just hoped they'd be strong enough to survive What came next? Chapter for Nix. Sarah waited until midnight. She'd packed only essentials, clothes for Maya, a few coins she'd saved, the jade bracelet her mother had given her before she died. Everything else could be left behind. Everything except her daughter. "Mama, where are we going?" Maya whispered, half asleep as Sarah dressed her in the dark. "Somewhere safe, baby. But the king said we're safe here." "I know, sweetheart, but sometimes we have to make our own safety." Sarah pulled a cloak around Maya's shoulders. "Can you be very quiet for me?" Maya nodded, her silver eyes solemn. Sarah's heart ached. Her daughter shouldn't have to live like this. Running, hiding, always afraid. But staying here meant war. The Ashford family would come for revenge. Vivian would want blood. And Maya would be caught in the crossfire. Better to disappear now, before things got worse. She eased the door open, checking the corridor. The guards Dante had posted were gone. Pulled away to deal with the Ashford crisis, probably. A small mercy. Sarah took Maya's hand and moved quickly through the shadowed hallways. She knew these corridors better than anyone. 3 years of cleaning them, memorizing every exit, every hidden passage. The servants' entrance was just ahead. Beyond that, the kitchen gardens. Beyond that, freedom. Almost there. Going somewhere. Sarah froze at the sound of Dante's voice. He stepped out of the shadows, still dressed in the clothes he'd worn to his mother's deathbed. His eyes were red-rimmed with grief, but sharp with understanding. "Dante, You promised you wouldn't run." "I promised I'd be here when you got back from the council meeting. I kept that promise. Now I'm leaving. With my daughter, in the middle of the night, without saying goodbye." His voice was dangerously quiet. "That's called running, Sarah?" "It's called protecting her." Sarah pulled Maya closer. "Your mother was murdered because she discovered the truth about Vivienne. The Ashford family is planning a coup. You're about to go to war, and when you do, Maya will be a target, a weakness they can exploit. So you're taking her away from me?" "I'm keeping her alive," Maya whimpered, confused and frightened by the tension between them. Dante's expression softened as he looked at his daughter. "I would never let anything happen to her, to either of you." "You can't promise that. You're one man, Dante. Even an Alpha King can't be everywhere at once." "No, but I can make sure you're somewhere I can protect you." He moved closer, his power filling the corridor. "You're not leaving, Sarah. You can't stop me. I'm the Alpha King. I can do whatever I want." He took another step. "And right now, I want you and Maya safe, which means you're staying, in the palace, where I can keep you protected. That's not your choice to make. It is when the alternative is you running into danger with no protection and no plan." His eyes were fierce. "I just found you. I just found out I have a daughter. I'm not losing either of you because you're too stubborn to accept help." "Help? You're talking about imprisonment?" "I'm talking about keeping you alive." His voice cracked. "I buried my mother today, Sarah. Don't make me bury you too." The raw pain in his voice stopped her cold. Dante ran a hand through his hair, suddenly looking exhausted. "Please, just stay. Give me a chance to end this threat properly, to make the palace safe for you both. And if you can't, then I'll help you run. I'll give you resources, protection, whatever you need to disappear safely." His hand reached out, cupping her cheek. "But don't leave like this. Not in the middle of the night, like I mean nothing to you." "You don't mean nothing," Sarah whispered. "That's the problem. You mean everything. And I can't watch you die protecting us." "Then don't watch. Fight with me instead." His thumb brushed her cheek. "Be my mate, my queen. Stand beside me while we end this threat together." "I don't know how to be a queen. You don't have to know. You just have to be you." He leaned down, his forehead touching hers. "Please, Sarah, trust me, just for a little while." She wanted to. Goddess, she wanted to. But trust had been weaponized against her too many times. "Mama?" Maya tugged on her cloak. "I'm tired. Can we go to bed?" "Yes, baby? You'll stay in my chambers," Dante interrupted. "Both of you. Where I can ensure you're protected. That's not non-negotiable. Either you agree or I'll carry you there myself." His eyes were determined. "What's it going to be?" Sarah looked at Maya's tired face, then back at Dante's stubborn expression. She was trapped. She'd tried to run and failed, and now the Alpha King was offering her protection whether she wanted it or not. "Fine," she said finally, "but we're not sharing a bed. There's a sitting room with a couch. You can sleep there." "Maya sleeps with me." "Agreed. And you keep your distance." Dante's smile was sad. "I'll try. But the mate bond doesn't care about distance, Sarah. Being this close to you is already driving my wolf insane." She felt it too, the pull stronger now that they were close, like an invisible rope tying them together, growing tighter with each passing moment. "Then we'll just have to manage," she said firmly. Dante's chambers were enormous. The main bedroom had a bed large enough for 5 people, a fireplace, and windows overlooking the courtyard. The sitting room had comfortable furniture, bookshelves, and that promised couch. Sarah immediately claimed it, settling Maya on the cushions. "I'll get you blankets," Dante said, moving to a chest. "We're fine." "You're sleeping on a couch. You're not fine." He brought over pillows and a thick quilt. "Here." Their fingers brushed as she took them, and electricity shot up her arm. The mate bond hummed with approval. Dante felt it too. She saw his pupils dilate, his breathing quicken. "Thank you," she managed. "You're welcome." He stepped back, putting distance between them. "I need to return to the council meeting. Marcus is coordinating our response to the Ashford threat, but I'll have guards posted outside. No one gets in without my permission. So, we're prisoners. You're protected? There's a difference." "Is there?" His jaw clenched. "I'm trying to keep you alive, Sarah. I'm sorry if that feels like imprisonment, but after what happened to my mother, I'm not taking any chances." The grief in his voice softened her anger. He'd lost his mother today, was facing a conspiracy and potential war, and here she was, fighting him at every turn. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "About your mother, she was kind to me, to Maya. She would have loved having a granddaughter." Dante's eyes were suspiciously bright. "She would have loved you too, given time. We'll never know now." "No, we won't." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Sarah, I meant what I said earlier. I love you. I've loved you since the moment I saw you 5 years ago, and I'm going to prove to you that you can trust me, that we can have a future together." Then he was gone, leaving Sarah alone with her sleeping daughter and a heart full of confused emotions. The first night was bearable. Maya slept soundly on the couch while Sarah dozed fitfully in a nearby chair. Dante didn't return until dawn, looking exhausted but determined. "Any news?" Sarah asked. "The Ashfords have reached the Southern Territories. They're rallying their allies, spreading lies about me forcing myself on Lady Vivienne." His expression was grim. "It's going to be war." "Can you win?" "I have to. The alternative is letting traitors take my throne." He moved to the windows, staring out at the rising sun. "My mother built this realm from the ashes of my father's cruelty. I won't let the Ashfords destroy it." Sarah stood, moving closer despite her better judgment. "You need to sleep." "Can't. Too much to do. You're no good to anyone if you collapse from exhaustion." "I'll sleep when this is over." "Dante." "I'm fine, Sarah." But he wasn't. She could feel it through the mate bond. His grief, his exhaustion, his desperate need to protect everyone while falling apart inside. "At least eat something," she tried. He turned to her, and the raw vulnerability in his eyes made her chest ache. "I keep thinking about her last words, about you being my true queen, about not making her mistakes. She was dying, probably delirious. She was lucid enough to figure out the Ashford conspiracy. Lucid enough to try to warn me before the poison took her." His hands clenched. "She died protecting us, Sarah. The least I can do is honor her wishes. By forcing me to stay in your chambers? By keeping you alive long enough to choose me freely." He moved closer, his presence overwhelming. "I know you don't trust me yet. I know I have to earn that. But I'm asking you to give me time, to let me prove I'm not the man who chose duty over love 5 years ago." The mate bond pulled at her, urging her closer. Sarah fought it, maintaining distance. "Time is all I'm asking for too," she said. "Time to figure out if this can really work." "It can. I'll make it work." "You can't force a relationship, Dante, even with the mate bond." "I'm not trying to force anything. I'm just trying to keep you close enough that the bond doesn't tear us both apart." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand cupped her cheek. "Do you feel it? The pull?" She did. It was getting stronger every hour, a constant ache in her chest that demanded she move closer, touch him, complete what they'd started 5 years ago. "Yes," she whispered. "It's going to get worse. The longer we resist, the more painful it becomes." His thumb brushed her lips. "I don't want to rush you, but Sarah, we can't fight this forever." "I know." "Then let me court you properly, here, where you're safe. Let me show you I can be the mate you deserve." Before she could answer, Maya's sleepy voice interrupted them. "Mama, why is the king touching your face?" Dante pulled back immediately, colour rising in his cheeks. Sarah couldn't help it. She laughed. The absurdity of the Alpha King, feared by everyone, blushing because a 4-year-old caught him being affectionate. "He was just checking to see if I had a fever," Sarah lied. "Do you?" "No, baby, I'm fine." She moved to the couch, gathering Maya into her arms. "Are you hungry?" "Starving." Dante cleared his throat. "I'll have breakfast brought up. What do you like, Maya?" His daughter considered him seriously. "Honey cakes, and strawberries, and milk." "Done!" He moved to the door, calling orders to the guards outside. Within minutes, servants arrived with trays laden with food. They tried not to stare at Sarah, but she felt their judgment anyway. The Omega who'd seduced the king, the servant trying to rise above her station. She ignored them, focusing on Maya, but the second night was harder. The mate bond had gone from a gentle pull to an insistent ache. Sarah found herself watching Dante as he worked at his desk, her body hyper-aware of every movement he made. He felt it too. She caught him staring at her multiple times, his eyes dark with want. By the third night, the pain was constant. Sarah couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Her skin felt too tight, her wolf pacing restlessly. "This is getting bad," she admitted to Dante as they sat on opposite sides of the sitting room, maintaining careful distance. "I know." His hands were clenched, knuckles white. "My wolf is going insane. Every instinct is screaming at me to claim you, mark you, complete the bond. We can't, not yet. I'm not ready. I know, and I won't push. But Sarah, you need to understand. The pain is only going to get worse. Eventually, we won't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not with mate bonds. Not when they're this strong." He stood, pacing like a caged animal. "We're fighting nature itself. And nature doesn't care about our timeline or our emotional readiness. So what do you suggest? Let me mark you. Just the mark. Nothing more." He saw her expression and raised his hands. "I know how it sounds, but the mark will ease the worst of the pain. Give us both some relief while you figure out if you can trust me. The mark is permanent. Yes, it binds us forever. I'm already bound to you, have been since the moment our eyes met 5 years ago." He moved closer, drawn by the bond he could no longer resist. This would just make it official. Sarah's heart raced. The mark, the final step, the point of no return. But the pain was unbearable. And her wolf was whimpering, desperate for her mate. "Just the mark," she said finally, "nothing more." "Just the mark," Dante agreed. "I swear it." He closed the distance between them, his hands gentle as they framed her face. "Are you sure?" "No, but do it anyway before I lose my nerve." He smiled, sad and hopeful at once. Then he tilted her head to the side, exposing the curve of her neck where it met her shoulder. "This will hurt," he warned, "but only for a moment." Sarah braced herself. Dante's lips brushed her skin, reverent. Then his teeth sank in, breaking the surface. The pain was sharp, immediate. But it was quickly overwhelmed by something else, a rush of power, of connection, of rightness that stole her breath. The mate bond snapped fully into place, and with it came a flood of sensations that weren't her own. Dante's emotions pouring into her, his love, his need, his fierce protectiveness, his memories flashing past, the harvest moon ceremony, watching her dance with Maya in the courtyard, the moment he'd realized she was his. But there was something else too, something ancient and powerful stirring in her blood. Dante pulled back, licking the wound to seal it. "Sarah, are you okay?" She couldn't answer, couldn't speak, because her entire world had just shifted. Power flooded through her veins. Old magic, forgotten magic, the kind that hadn't been seen in generations. What's happening to her? Maya's frightened voice, distant. I don't know. Sarah, talk to me. But Sarah was lost in the surge of awakening power. She could feel things she'd never felt before. Threads of connection spreading through the palace like a spider's web. Pack bonds. Hundreds of them, linking wolves to their alpha king. And she could sense more. Lies and truth, loyalty and betrayal. All of it laid bare before her newly opened senses. Lunar bloodline, she whispered. The knowledge coming from somewhere deep and primal. I carry the lunar bloodline. Dante's eyes widened. That's impossible. The lunar bloodline died out 200 years ago. Not died, hidden. Sarah looked at her hands, watching power dance across her skin like silver fire. My mother's mother, all the way back. We've been hiding, blending in, pretending to be normal Omegas. Why? Because lunar-born are powerful, dangerous, coveted. Her eyes met his. And the last time a lunar-born openly claimed her power, she was hunted by every alpha pack in the realm. They wanted to control her, use her, force her to bond with their strongest warriors. I would never... I know. That's why the bond worked, why it accepted you. Sarah's newfound senses were overwhelming. She could feel Dante's sincerity, his love, his absolute commitment. A lunar-born can only bond with a true mate, someone worthy, someone who would protect rather than possess. What does this mean? It means I'm not just your mate. I'm your Luna. The old title felt right on her tongue. Alpha and Luna, king and queen. The balance the realm has been missing for 200 years. Dante looked stunned. Your powers are awakening. I can feel pack bonds, sense loyalty and betrayal, and... She closed her eyes, reaching deeper. I can see things, fragments of the future. Prophetic dreams? Yes, and I'm having one now. The vision hit her like a physical blow. The palace under attack, the full moon hanging heavy and red in the sky, assassins in the corridors, moving toward Dante's chambers with murder in their eyes. And at the center of it all, Vivienne. Her smile vicious as she watched the chaos unfold. Sarah gasped, coming back to herself. They're going to attack. During the next full moon, Vivienne's family, they've hired assassins. They're planning to kill you, claim you died trying to suppress their rebellion and install Lord Ashford as regent. When is the next full moon? 3 days. Dante's expression went hard. Then we have 3 days to prepare, to set a trap of our own. Your council won't believe me. They don't have to. I believe you. He pulled her close, his mark on her neck throbbing with shared power. And that's all that matters. The council meeting the next morning was brutal. Sarah stood beside Dante's throne, acutely aware of every hostile stare. The court had barely tolerated her before. Now, marked as the king's mate, wearing her newfound power like a beacon, they looked at her with fear and resentment. The Omega claims to have prophetic visions, Lord Blackthorne sneered. He was Dante's cousin, ambitious and cruel. How convenient, the king's whore trying to make herself indispensable. Watch your mouth, Dante growled. That's your Luna you're addressing. She's no Luna. She's a servant with delusions of grandeur. She carries the Luna bloodline, ancient magic verified by the mate bond itself. Dante's power filled the room. Anyone who questions her place at my side questions me. The court shifted uneasily. Even if her bloodline is genuine, another council member ventured, prophetic dreams are notoriously unreliable. How do we know this vision is true and not just a nightmare? Because I can verify it, Beta Marcus stepped forward. I've received intelligence reports confirming unusual activity in the Southern Territories, mercenaries gathering, dark magic being purchased. The timing aligns with Lady Sarah's vision. Sarah felt a rush of gratitude toward the Beta. At least someone believed her. It could be coincidence, Lord Blackthorne insisted, or it could be an assassination plot. Dante leaned forward. And I'm not willing to gamble my life, or the realm's stability, on your skepticism. What do you propose? We prepare for an attack, during the full moon 3 days from now, double the guards, set traps. Be ready. And if nothing happens? If the Omega's vision proves false? Lord Blackthorn's smile was cruel. What then? Do we simply accept that our king makes policy based on his mate's dreams? If nothing happens, Dante said coldly, then we've lost nothing but a night's sleep. But if something does happen and we're not prepared, we lose the throne. I know which risk I'd rather take. The council murmured but eventually agreed. They didn't have much choice. Dante was still the Alpha King, and his word was law. But Sarah felt their doubt, their resentment, their certainty that she was manipulating Dante for power. She kept her head high and said nothing. After the meeting, Marcus approached her. "My lady, I believe you. The intelligence I've gathered suggests the Ashfords are planning something catastrophic. Thank you for supporting me in there. It's not just support, it's truth." His eyes were serious. "But you should know, not everyone on the council is loyal to the king. Lord Blackthorn has been making overtures to the Ashford family, and there are others who would welcome a change in leadership. Traitors in his own council? Power makes people do terrible things." Marcus glanced around, making sure they weren't overheard. "Watch yourself, my lady. You've made powerful enemies by claiming your place at the king's side." "I didn't claim anything. The mate bond chose you, I know, but to them, you're an Omega who came from nowhere and stole their king. They won't forgive that easily." Sarah's newfound senses tingled. She focused on Marcus, reading the threads of loyalty that bound him to Dante. Strong, unshakable, true. "You really care about him," she said softly. "He's my king, my friend, and the best leader this realm has had in generations." Marcus's voice was fierce. "I'll die before I let the Ashfords take him down. Then we're on the same side. We always have been, my lady." The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparations. Dante barely slept, coordinating defenses and identifying potential traitors. Sarah stayed close, using her new abilities to sense lies and hidden loyalties. She identified 3 more council members working with the Ashfords. Dante had them quietly arrested, their positions filled with warriors Marcus trusted. Maya stayed in the chambers, guarded constantly. She didn't understand why Mama was suddenly so important, or why everyone kept calling her my lady, but she adapted with the resilience of children. "Mama, your neck glows sometimes," she observed one evening. "Is that normal?" Sarah touched the mate mark, feeling its warmth. "It's from the bond with the king. Because he's my papa?" The word made Sarah's heart clench. "Yes, baby, he's your papa." "Good, I like him," Maya yawned. "He tells better bedtime stories than you." Despite everything, Sarah smiled. "Does he?" "Mm-hmm. Last night he told me about the Wolf Queen who could talk to the moon. She was very brave." Sarah's blood ran cold. "What else did he tell you?" "That the Wolf Queen had a daughter, and the daughter had special powers too, but she had to hide them because bad people wanted to hurt her. It was too close to their real situation to be coincidence." "Maya, did the king tell you anything else? About staying safe? About what to do if something bad happened?" Her daughter nodded sleepily. "He said if anything scary happens, I should hide in the special room. He showed me where. Behind the bookshelf. There's a door. A safe room." Dante had prepared a safe room without telling her. Sarah's throat tightened. He was protecting Maya, making sure their daughter would survive even if everything else fell apart. "That's good, baby. Remember that, okay? If anything scary happens, you hide in the special room and you don't come out until Mama or Papa comes to get you." "Okay, Mama." Maya's eyes drifted closed. Love you more." Sarah sat watching her daughter sleep, feeling the weight of the coming battle. Tomorrow was the full moon. Tomorrow, Vivian's assassins would come. And tomorrow, Sarah would have to prove she was more than just an Omega who'd accidentally caught a king's attention. She was Luna, and it was time to act like it. The attack came an hour after midnight. Sarah woke to the sound of fighting in the corridors. Steel on steel, screams, the acrid smell of blood. "Dante!" She bolted upright, but he was already at the door, dressed for battle, weapons in hand. "Get Maya to the safe room, now." "I can help. You can protect our daughter. That's the help I need." His eyes were fierce. "Promise me you'll keep her safe." "I promise, but Dante..." He kissed her hard and fast. "I love you. Remember that." Then he was gone, disappearing into the chaos. Sarah ran to Maya, shaking her awake. "Baby, remember the special room? We need to go there now." Maya was instantly alert, her 4 years of running with Sarah having trained her well. Bad people? Very bad people, come on. They ran to the bookshelf. Sarah found the hidden latch, pulled. The shelf swung open, revealing a small room with water, food, and blankets. "Inside, Maya, quickly." But as Sarah moved to follow her daughter, she felt a spike of warning through her lunar senses. Wrong. Something was wrong. She turned to find 3 masked figures entering the chambers. Assassins, moving with deadly purpose. And they were heading straight for the open safe room. For Maya. "No." Sarah threw herself between them and her daughter. "You can't have her." "Move, Omega," one of them growled. "The child is the leverage we need to control the king. You'll have to kill me first." "That can be arranged." The lead assassin lunged. Sarah's lunar power exploded outward instinctively. Silver light blazed from her skin, forcing them back. But she didn't know how to control it, didn't know how to fight. One of them got past her defenses, grabbing Maya. "Mama!" her daughter screamed. "Let her go." Sarah's power lashed out wildly, knocking one assassin into the wall. But there were too many, and they were trained killers, while she was just an Omega who'd discovered her power 3 days ago. The lead assassin hit her hard across the face. Sarah went down, stars exploding across her vision. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was Maya being dragged away, her daughter's terrified screams echoing in her ears. And the last thing she felt was the mate bond screaming in anguish as Dante, somewhere in the palace, realized what had happened. Their daughter was gone. Chapter 7. Sarah woke to Dante's frantic voice and hands on her face. "Sarah, can you hear me? Sarah?" She blinked, the world swimming into focus. The chambers were in chaos, overturned furniture, blood on the floor, the bookshelf hanging open to reveal the empty safe room. Maya. "They took her," Sarah gasped, sitting up too fast. Her head spun, but she fought through it. "The assassins, they took Maya." "I know, we're tracking them now." Dante's face was a mask of controlled fury. "Marcus has warriors searching every exit, but they had a head start." "I can find her." Sarah grabbed his arm, her lunar senses already reaching out. "The mate bond. It doesn't just connect us, it connects me to Pac, to family, to her." She closed her eyes, letting her newfound power flow through her. There, a golden thread, bright and pure, leading away from the palace, her daughter's bond, blazing like a beacon. "Southeast," Sarah said, her eyes snapping open. "They're taking her southeast, moving fast. Horses, maybe a carriage. They're heading toward—" She focused harder, following the thread through space and distance. "The Ashford estate. They're taking her to Vivian." Dante's expression turned deadly. "Then that's where we're going. Marcus." The beta appeared in the doorway, blood on his sword. "Sire, gather 50 of our best warriors. We ride for the Ashford estate immediately." "But Your Majesty, you can't leave the palace during an attack." "The attack was a diversion, to pull my forces here while they stole my daughter." Dante was already moving, grabbing weapons from the wall. "They want me to choose between defending the palace and rescuing Maya. So I'm choosing both. You'll stay here with half the guard and crush this rebellion. I'll take the other half and get my daughter back." "Sire, that's an order, Marcus." The beta hesitated, then bowed. "Yes, Your Majesty, but please be careful. This could be a trap." "It definitely is." Dante turned to Sarah. "Which is why you're staying here where it's safe." "No, Sarah, be reasonable. That's my daughter they took, my pup." Her lunar power flared, making the air crackle. "I can track her. Guide you to exactly where they're holding her. You need me. I need you alive. And I need my daughter back." Sarah moved toward him, her eyes blazing. "I'm lunar now, Dante. That means I fight for my pack, for my family. You can either accept that or spend precious time arguing while Maya gets further away." They stared at each other, wills clashing. Finally, Dante's shoulders sagged. "You stay close to me at all times. You follow orders, and if I tell you to run, you run. Understood?" "Understood. I mean it, Sarah. If things go bad, they won't, because we're getting our daughter back." She touched the mate mark on her neck, feeling his fear and rage through the bond. Together. They rode hard through the night, 50 warriors thundering through the darkness. Sarah led them, her lunar senses locked onto Maya's bond like a compass pointing north. Every mile they covered, the thread grew stronger, brighter. Her daughter was terrified but alive. Sarah clung to that knowledge. "How much further?" Dante asked, his horse keeping pace with hers. "Maybe an hour. They've stopped moving." Sarah's power stretched ahead, sensing more than just Maya now. There are many wolves there, more than just the Ashfords. I'm feeling bonds I don't recognize, allegiances to a different pack. The rival pack Marcus mentioned? Yes, and they're strong, well-trained. Sarah's stomach churned with dread. "Dante, this is bigger than we thought. Vivienne's family didn't just fake a pregnancy and plan a coup. They've allied with another pack entirely." "Which pack?" Sarah pushed her senses further, reading the unfamiliar pack bonds, and what she felt made her blood run cold. Eastern Territory's pack structure, but twisted, corrupted. Her hands tightened on the reins. "Dante, these wolves aren't bound by normal pack loyalty. They're bound by something else: fear, cruelty, absolute submission to an alpha who rules through terror." What kind of alpha does that? Sarah knew. Deep in her bones, she knew. Because she'd felt this kind of pack bond before. 16 years ago, when she was just a child and her father had still been alive. "My father," she whispered. Dante's head whipped toward her. "What?" "My father. He didn't die in the war like I told everyone." The truth spilled out, bitter and painful. "He sold me. When I was 13 years old, he sold me to a rival alpha who wanted a lunar-born omega for breeding. I ran before the alpha could claim me, changed my name, hid what I was. Sarah. My mother helped me escape, gave me her jade bracelet and told me to run as far as I could. She died a week later. I think he killed her for letting me go." Sarah's voice was hollow. "I thought he'd given up looking for me. It's been 16 years. But if he's here now, if he's allied with the Ashfords, then he knows you're alive. Knows you've bonded with the Alpha King. Knows you have a daughter who carries lunar bloodline." Dante's expression was grim. "Maya isn't just leverage against me. She's what he wanted from you all along. A lunar-born pup he can control and breed." Sarah's wolf snarled with protective rage. "He'll never touch her. No, he won't, because I'll kill him first." Dante's hand found hers, squeezing. "Whatever happened in your past, whatever he did to you, it ends tonight." The Ashford estate loomed ahead, all stone walls and torchlight. Dante called a halt a quarter-mile out, gathering his warriors in the cover of trees. "We do this smart," he told them. "Half of you with me through the front, the other half circle around, cover the exits. No one escapes." "And Lady Sarah?" one of the warriors asked. "Stays with me." Dante's tone left no room for argument. "She's our tracker, our Luna, and anyone who has a problem with that can leave now." The warriors exchanged glances, but no one moved. Sarah felt their doubt through her lunar senses. They didn't trust her yet, didn't fully accept an Omega as their queen, but they trusted Dante, and that was enough. For now. "The child is being held in the East Wing," Sarah said, her power showing her Maya's location like a glowing star. "Third floor. There are 6 guards outside her door and at least 20 more throughout the building." "And Vivienne?" Sarah searched, finding the familiar signature of the false pregnancy, the dark magic that had fooled the healer. "Main hall. She's with her father and—" Sarah's blood ran cold. "My father! They're all there, waiting." "For us," Dante concluded. "They know we're coming. It's a trap. Of course it is." His smile was sharp. "Good thing we're setting one of our own." He outlined the plan quickly, a frontal assault to draw their forces, while a smaller team, Sarah, Dante, and 5 of his best warriors, snuck in through the servants' entrance and went straight for Maya. "What about Vivienne and the other?" a warrior asked. "Leave them to me," Dante said coldly. "I have a score to settle." The battle began with fire. Dante's warriors launched flaming arrows over the estate walls, setting the stables ablaze. Chaos erupted, guards scrambling, wolves shifting to fight, the carefully laid trap dissolving into confusion. In the chaos, Sarah slipped through the servants' entrance with Dante and their small team. The corridors were dark, lit only by scattered torches. Sarah led them unerringly toward Maya, her lunar senses painting a map in her mind. They encountered the first guards at the base of the stairs. Dante moved like death itself, his blade finding throats before the guards could shout. The other warriors followed his lead, efficient and deadly. Sarah had never seen this side of him. The king had always been controlled, careful. But this was the warrior who'd killed his own father in ritual combat, the alpha who'd conquered 3 territories before his 25th birthday. This was the monster who protected his own. They reached the 3rd floor. 6 guards stood outside a heavy oak door, weapons drawn, clearly expecting trouble. "The king!" one shouted. Dante didn't give them time to coordinate. He attacked with controlled fury, his warriors flanking him. Sarah stayed back, watching, until one of the guards broke free and charged toward her. Instinct took over. Her lunar power exploded outward, silver light blazing from her hands. The guard flew backward, slamming into the wall, hard enough to crack stone. He didn't get up. Sarah stared at her hands, shocked. She'd done that. Hurt someone. Maybe killed them. "Sarah!" Dante's voice cut through her shock. "The door!" She ran to it, trying the handle, locked, heavy. Sarah pressed her palms against the wood, letting her lunar power flow through. She could feel Maya on the other side, terrified but alive. "Stand back," she told Dante. He didn't question, just stepped aside. Sarah gathered every bit of power she had and pushed. The door exploded inward, wood splintering like paper. Inside, Maya huddled in the corner, tears streaming down her face. And standing over her, knife in hand, was a female beta wearing Ashford colours. "Don't come closer," the beta shouted. "I'll kill the pup." Sarah went very still. "Put down the knife. Not until you let us leave. The child is our guarantee." "There are no guarantees, no negotiations, no mercy." Sarah's voice dropped to something ancient and terrible. "Put down the knife or I will tear you apart." The beta's hand shook, but she didn't lower the blade. "You're bluffing? You're just an omega." "I'm lunar." Sarah's power flooded the room, making the air thick with pressure. "And you're threatening my pup." She moved faster than thought, her lunar-enhanced speed carrying her across the room in a heartbeat. The beta tried to swing the knife, but Sarah caught her wrist, twisted. A bone snapped. The beta screamed. Sarah's other hand found her throat, lifting her off the ground. "You put your hands on my daughter," Sarah said softly. "You terrorized her, made her cry. Please, I was just following orders. Then you should have chosen better leaders." Sarah's claws extended. Something new, something her lunar power granted, and she drove them through the beta's throat. The body dropped. Sarah turned to find her daughter staring at her with wide, shocked eyes. "Mama!" "It's okay, baby, it's over. You're safe now." Sarah gathered Maya into her arms, breathing in her scent, checking for injuries. "Did they hurt you?" "I was scared, but I remembered what Papa said. I tried to be brave." "You were so brave, sweetheart. So brave." Dante appeared in the doorway, blood on his armor, relief written across his face. "Thank the moon. Is she hurt?" "Shaken, but unharmed." Sarah stood, cradling Maya. "We need to leave. Now." But before they could move, an explosion rocked the building. The rival pack had arrived in force. The estate descended into chaos. Warriors poured in from all sides, Ashford forces, the rival pack, and Dante's own warriors trying to maintain control. The halls became a maze of violence and blood. "Get Maya out," Dante ordered, pressing his back to Sarah's as enemies surrounded them. "Take 2 warriors and go." "I'm not leaving you." "Sarah, we fight together or we die together. That's what mate bonds mean." She passed Maya to one of the warriors. "Get her to safety. We'll cover you." The warrior hesitated, looking to his king. Dante cursed but nodded. "Go. Protect the pup with your life." "Yes, sire." They ran, Maya's frightened cries echoing back. Then it was just Sarah and Dante, back to back, surrounded by a dozen enemies. "I love you," Dante said, "in case we don't make it out of this." "We'll make it. I haven't shown you what else I can do yet." Sarah's lunar power built inside her, stronger than before. Fueled by rage and fear and desperate love, she unleashed it. Silver light exploded from her body in a shockwave, throwing their enemies back. Those who managed to stay on their feet charged anyway, blades raised. Sarah met them head on. She moved like her wolf given human form, fast, fierce, deadly. Her claws ripped through armor. Her power knocked weapons from hands. She was lunar, ancient and powerful, and these wolves had threatened her child. They would pay. Dante fought beside her, perfectly in sync. Where she struck, he defended. Where he advanced, she covered his back. They moved like one being. The mate bond making them a weapon no enemy could counter. The hallway filled with bodies, and when the last enemy fell, Sarah stood panting, covered in blood, her power still crackling around her like lightning. "Remind me never to make you angry," Dante said, staring at her with something like awe. Too late for that. Sarah wiped blood from her face. "Where's Vivian?" "Main hall, with her father and your father." Dante's expression turned grim. "Time to end this." The main hall was a grand space with vaulted ceilings and a massive fireplace. Lord Ashford stood near the hearth, looking smug despite the sounds of battle outside. Vivienne was beside him, her false pregnancy on display, her smile vicious. And standing with them, older but unmistakable, was the man who'd haunted Sarah's nightmares for 16 years. Her father. He looked the same, tall, broad-shouldered, with cold eyes that had never shown her an ounce of love. Those eyes locked onto her now, calculating. "Daughter," he said, "you've grown." "Don't call me that." Sarah's voice was ice. "You lost the right when you sold me like cattle. I was securing an alliance. You were being difficult. I was 13 years old enough to understand duty." His gaze shifted to Dante. "But I see you found a mate after all, the Alpha King himself. Well done." "Shut your mouth," Dante snarled. "You allied with traitors. Helped them kidnap my daughter. Plotted to overthrow the throne. I plotted to take what should have been mine." Her father's smile was cold. "Do you know what a lunar-born Omega is worth? The power they carry? I found one mate, Sarah's mother. She gave me one lunar-born daughter before she died. I wasn't going to let that power escape me." "So you tried to force me into a breeding alliance. You were a child. You didn't understand the bigger picture." "I understood that you were a monster." Sarah's power blazed, and monsters don't get to win. Lord Ashford cleared his throat. "As touching as this family reunion is, we have business to conclude. Your Majesty, I'm prepared to offer terms." "There are no terms," Dante said flatly. "You faked a pregnancy, poisoned my mother, kidnapped my child. The penalty for any one of those crimes is death. All three together?" He smiled, cold and sharp. "I'm going to enjoy executing you. You can't prove any of it, can't I?" Dante gestured, and Beta Marcus entered with 3 bound prisoners, the false healer, one of the assassins, and a servant who'd helped poison the former queen. "They've all confessed, named you, Lord Ashford, named your daughter, detailed the entire conspiracy." Vivian's face went white. Lord Ashford sputtered. "Those confessions were coerced, forced, not admissible. I'm the king. I decide what's admissible." Dante's voice was hard. "Vivian Ashford, you are guilty of treason, conspiracy to commit murder, falsifying a royal pregnancy, and the murder of Queen Alara Blackwood. How do you plead?" Vivian's eyes darted to her father, then to Sarah's father. "This wasn't my idea. They made me do it. My father said we had to secure the throne before you mated that Omega whore." "Vivian," Lord Ashford roared, but it was too late. She'd confessed, implicated herself and her co-conspirators. Dante's expression didn't change. "Then you'll all die together. Marcus, execute them." "Wait!" Sarah's father stepped forward, his power rising. "You're forgetting something, King. I have 50 warriors outside these walls. Kill us, and they'll raze this estate to the ground with you inside it." "They're already dead," Dante said calmly. "My warriors cut through them like wheat." It was a bluff. Sarah could feel through the bond that the battle was still raging, but her father couldn't tell. He hesitated, and in that moment of hesitation, Sarah struck. Her lunar power lashed out like a whip, wrapping around her father's throat. She lifted him off his feet, letting him dangle. "You sold me," she said softly. "You killed my mother, and tonight you tried to take my daughter." "Sarah," he choked, "I'm your father. You're nothing to me. Just a monster who deserves to die." Her power tightened. "This is for my mother, for the childhood you stole, for every nightmare I've had for 16 years." Please, no mercy, no forgiveness, just justice. She crushed his throat with her power. Her father's body fell, lifeless. Sarah turned to find the entire room staring at her, warriors, prisoners, even Dante. She'd just killed her own father without hesitation, without remorse. Anyone else want to threaten my family? She asked quietly. Silence. Dante stepped forward, his hand finding hers. Execute the rest, he ordered Marcus. Quickly, I want this done. Lord Ashford tried to run. Marcus cut him down. Vivian screamed, begging for mercy. One of the warriors silenced her with a blade. The other conspirators died without ceremony. When it was over, Dante addressed the assembled witnesses, warriors from both sides who'd survived the battle. Let it be known throughout the realm, he said, his voice carrying. These traitors conspired against the throne. They murdered my mother, kidnapped my daughter, and allied with enemies of the realm. Their deaths are justice, and anyone else who thinks to challenge my rule will meet the same end. His hand tightened on Sarah's. Furthermore, let it be known that Sarah, Luna-born, bearer of ancient bloodline, mother of my child, is my true mate, my queen, your Luna. He turned to her, his eyes soft despite the blood and carnage around them. I claim you before the moon and the pack, before the realm and the throne, as my mate, my equal, my queen. He raised his voice. Does anyone challenge this claim? Silence. The warriors, bloodied and exhausted, looked at Sarah with something new in their eyes. Not doubt, not resentment, respect. She'd fought beside them, bled with them, killed for her family without hesitation. She'd proven herself in the most primal way possible. I accept your claim, Sarah said, her voice steady, and I claim you in return. Alpha King, protector of the realm, father of my daughter, my mate, my equal, my king. The mate bond blazed between them, sealing the public declaration. Dante pulled her close, kissing her in front of everyone, claiming her not just in words, but in action. When they finally pulled apart, the warriors were kneeling, all of them, bowing to their king and their Luna. Rise, Dante commanded. We have work to do. The estate needs to be secured, the bodies dealt with, and I want every conspirator's name, every ally, every whisper of treachery rooted out and destroyed. Yes, Your Majesty. As the warriors moved to follow orders, Sarah swayed. The adrenaline was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Dante caught her. Easy. You've used a lot of power tonight. Is Maya? Safe. The warrior got her out. She's with the others, protected. He cupped her face. You were magnificent, terrifying, but magnificent. I killed my own father. He deserved it. I know, but I still... She looked at her hands, seeing the blood there. I never thought I'd be capable of that. You're Luna. You're capable of anything when your family is threatened. Dante's eyes were proud. The pack sees it now. They saw you fight, saw your power, saw you protect what's yours without hesitation. Does that make me queen in their eyes? It makes you undeniable. He kissed her forehead. The traditionalists can object all they want, but they can't deny what they witnessed tonight. You're Luna, Sarah, in blood, in power, and in deed. The ride back to the palace was slower, weighted with exhaustion and grief. Maya rode with Sarah, sleeping against her mother's chest. She'd cried herself to exhaustion after the battle, terrified by what she'd seen. Sarah held her close, breathing in her scent, thanking the moon that her daughter was safe. But she couldn't stop thinking about her father's face as he'd died. The shock, the realization that his own daughter had killed him. She should feel guilty, should feel something besides this cold satisfaction. But she didn't. He'd sold her. Killed her mother? Tried to steal her daughter? He'd deserved death 1,000 times over. Stop overthinking, Dante murmured, riding beside her. I can feel your guilt through the bond. I'm not guilty. That's the problem. Why is that a problem? Because I should be. He was my father. He was a monster who happened to share your blood. There's a difference. Dante's hand found hers. You did what needed to be done. Protected your pack. Your family. That's what Luna does. Is that what your mother would have done? Dante was quiet for a moment. My mother would have done exactly what you did. She was fierce when it came to protecting me. Killed 3 alphas who tried to use me as leverage against my father. His smile was sad. She would have been proud of you tonight. Sarah's throat tightened. I wish I'd had more time with her. Me too. But she died knowing you'd keep me safe. Keep the realm safe. That was enough for her. He squeezed Sarah's hand. It's enough for me too. They rode in comfortable silence for a while, the warriors around them watchful and alert. Then one of the scouts came galloping back, his face pale. Your Majesty, there's a problem at the palace gates. Dante's entire body went rigid. What kind of problem? Lord Blackthorn, he's barricaded himself inside with a dozen loyalists, refuses to open the gates or acknowledge your authority. The scout swallowed hard. He's declaring himself regent until you can be properly evaluated for fitness to rule. Sarah felt Dante's fury through the mate bond. My own cousin? I should have executed him when I had the chance. We can still fix this, Sarah said. We have the warriors, the proof of the conspiracy, the pack's loyalty. Do we? Dante's eyes were bleak. Half the realm just watched me claim an Omega servant as queen. Lord Blackthorn will use that. Say, I've been compromised, seduced, manipulated. Some of the traditionalists will believe him. Then we'll prove them wrong. Sarah's lunar power stirred. We'll show them what a true king and Luna can accomplish together. Dante looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, fierce and proud. Yes, he said, we will. He turned to his warriors. We ride for the palace, full speed. Anyone loyal to Lord Blackthorn who stands in our way dies. No mercy. No hesitation. This ends tonight. The warriors roared their approval, and they rode toward what would be the final battle, not against external enemies, but against the rot within their own court, against the traditionalists who would rather see the realm burn than accept change, against everything that stood between Dante and Sarah and the future they were determined to build. Together. Chapter 8. The palace gates loomed ahead, sealed shut with Lord Blackthorn's forces manning the walls. Dante called a halt just outside arrow range, his warriors forming ranks behind him. Sarah sat her horse beside him, Maya still sleeping against her chest, exhausted from the night's terror. Lord Blackthorn, Dante's voice carried across the space. Open the gates. Your king has returned. A figure appeared on the battlements, Dante's cousin, dressed in ceremonial armor, his face twisted with righteous fury. You're no king of mine, Blackthorn shouted back. You've been compromised. Seduced by an Omega whore who murdered her own father and claims false powers to manipulate you. Murmurs rippled through the assembled warriors. Some looked uncertain. False powers? Sarah spoke up, her lunar voice carrying with unnatural clarity. Would you like a demonstration, Lord Blackthorn? She handed Maya carefully to one of the trusted warriors, then dismounted. Her lunar power built inside her, stronger now after the night's battles. She could feel every pack bond in the vicinity, the warriors loyal to Dante, blazing bright and true, the uncertain ones flickering with doubt, and Lord Blackthorn's followers, dark with fear and resentment. I can see your pack bonds, Sarah called out, the loyalty of every wolf here. Shall I tell you which of your followers are truly loyal, Lord Blackthorn? And which are only with you because they fear Dante's wrath if they refuse you? She pointed to a guard on the wall. That one plans to open the gates the moment fighting starts. He has family he wants to protect. The guard's face went white. And that one, she pointed to another, has already sent word to Beta Marcus inside, telling him your numbers and positions. Lord Blackthorn whirled on his men. Traitors. They're not traitors, Sarah said calmly. They're wolves who recognize their true alpha king, who understand that loyalty to the pack supersedes loyalty to an ambitious cousin staging a coup. I'm not staging a coup. I'm protecting the realm from what? A lunar-born Omega who bonded with your king? Sarah's power flared, making the air shimmer. Let me tell you what I learned tonight, Lord Blackthorn. My father, the man I killed for threatening my family, had been selling information about this palace's defences to the rival pack for years. Every patrol route, every guard rotation, every weakness in the walls. Dante's head snapped toward her. What? I saw it when I killed him. Lunar power doesn't just let me sense bonds, it lets me see truth. His final thoughts were all about the gold he'd been paid, the promises he'd been made. Sarah's voice hardened. He helped plan tonight's attack, told them exactly when and where to strike for maximum damage. She turned to address the assembled warriors. My father was a traitor who sold his own daughter and plotted against this realm. I executed him for it, not because I'm manipulative or power-hungry, but because I'm Lunar, and Lunar protects the pack. Always. Pretty words from a servant girl playing at Queen. Lord Blackthorn sneered. You expect us to believe. I expect you to recognize what's standing in front of you. Sarah's eyes began to glow with silver light, her lunar power no longer contained. I am Sarah Blackwood, mate to King Dante, mother of Princess Maya, and Lunar of the Northern Realm. I carry bloodline magic that hasn't been seen in 200 years, and you, Lord Blackthorn, are standing between me and my home. The power in her voice made several guards on the wall step back. By ancient law, Sarah continued, when an Omega's honor is challenged, she has the right to duel for it. Not with claws and teeth like Alphas, but with power and will. So I'm challenging you, Lord Blackthorn, not to death, just to submission. Prove your claim that I'm false, or kneel and acknowledge your queen. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Sarah's power built higher, making the ground beneath her feet crack. Fight me, or open those gates. Choose now. Lord Blackthorn's face cycled through emotions, shock, rage, calculation. He was a strong alpha, experienced in battle, but he'd never faced a lunar-born Omega at the height of her power. This is ridiculous, he finally said. I won't dignify this farce by... The gates began to open. Everyone turned to see Beta Marcus standing inside, bloodied but alive, with 100 palace guards at his back. The internal threat has been neutralized, Your Majesty, Marcus called out. Lord Blackthorn's remaining conspirators have been arrested. You're free to enter your own palace whenever you choose. Marcus? You bastard! Lord Blackthorn drew his sword. You were supposed to support my king, which I did. Marcus's expression was cold. Did you really think I'd betray Dante for you? You're not half the leader he is. Lord Blackthorn looked around wildly, realizing his position had collapsed. His guards were backing away, his allies had been arrested, and he stood alone on the battlements facing an army. I surrender, he said finally, bitter defeat in his voice. No, Sarah said, you challenged my honor, called me whore and manipulator. You don't get to surrender, you get to face consequences. She didn't wait for him to respond. Her lunar power lashed out, wrapping around him like invisible chains. He tried to resist, his alpha strength pushing back. But lunar power didn't work like alpha dominance. It didn't overpower through force. It worked through connection, through pack bonds, through the fundamental magic that held wolves together. Sarah found every thread of loyalty Lord Blackthorn had built over the years, every bond of family, friendship, shared purpose, and she showed him the truth, how he'd betrayed every single one, and by siding with traitors, by putting his ambition above the pack's welfare. The shame of it broke him. Lord Blackthorn fell to his knees on the battlements, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought you were dangerous, that an Omega Queen would weaken us. I am dangerous, Sarah said quietly, releasing her hold on him. To enemies, to traitors, to anyone who threatens my family or my pack. But to loyal wolves, I'm protection. I'm strength. I'm Lunar. She turned to the assembled warriors and guards, addressing them all. I didn't choose this power. I didn't ask to be Lunar-born. For 16 years I hid what I was because I was afraid. Afraid of being used, afraid of being controlled, afraid of being hurt. Her hand found Dante's, grounding herself in the mate bond. But then I met a man who saw me, not my power, not my bloodline, just me. Who chose me when I was nobody, who protected my daughter without even knowing she was his, who made me feel safe enough to stop hiding. She looked up at Dante, seeing love and pride shining in his eyes. So yes, I'm an Omega, a servant who rose above her station, a mother who killed to protect her pup. And I'm your Lunar, not because I manipulated anyone, but because the moon goddess herself chose this bond. Sarah raised her voice to carry across the crowd. Any wolf who can't accept that is free to leave. I won't force loyalty, but if you stay, if you choose to be part of this pack, then you accept both your Alpha King and your Lunar Queen, together, as equals, as mates, as leaders. Silence fell. Then one of the older warriors, a grizzled beta who'd served 3 kings, stepped forward. He knelt, head bowed. "My Luna," he said simply. "I pledge my loyalty, my blade, my life." Another warrior knelt, then another, then dozens, until the entire army was kneeling before her. Even Lord Blackthorn, still on the battlements, knelt and bowed his head. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes, not tears of sadness, but of overwhelming emotion. These warriors, these proud, strong wolves, were accepting her. Truly accepting her. "Rise," she said, her voice thick. "All of you, we're pack. We don't kneel to each other, we stand together." As the warriors rose, Dante pulled her into his arms. "That was incredible," he whispered. "You're incredible. I just told the truth. You did more than that. You gave them a queen worth following." He kissed her forehead. "Now come on, let's go home." The palace was in chaos. The internal attack had been bloody but brief. Beta Marcus and the loyal guards had crushed Lord Blackthorn's conspiracy within hours, but the damage was extensive. Bodies in the corridors, blood on the marble floors, frightened servants hiding in the kitchens. Sarah walked through it all with Maya in her arms, her lunar senses reading the emotional state of everyone they passed. Fear, grief, uncertainty about the future. She stopped in the main courtyard, where dozens of servants and lower-ranking wolves had gathered for safety. "Listen to me," she called out, her lunar voice carrying to every corner. "Tonight was terrifying. People died. The palace was attacked from within and without. But it's over now. The traitors are defeated. Your king has returned. And I promise you, this will never happen again." "How can you promise that?" a servant called out. "They were nobles, council members. If we can't trust them—" "You can trust your king. You can trust Beta Marcus. You can trust the warriors who bled to protect you tonight." Sarah's eyes swept the crowd. "And you can trust me. I'm Luna now. That means I can sense pack bonds, detect lies, feel loyalty and betrayal. No conspiracy will ever take root in this palace again without me knowing." She felt their fear begin to ease, replaced by cautious hope. "I know I'm not what you expected in a queen," Sarah continued. "I know some of you are uncomfortable with an Omega in power, but I was one of you. I cleaned these halls. I hid in the servants' quarters. I know what it's like to be invisible, powerless, afraid." She shifted Maya in her arms. "I won't forget that. I won't forget where I came from. And I will use every bit of power I have to make sure no one in this pack feels invisible or powerless ever again. That's my promise to you, not as queen, but as someone who understands." An elderly cook pushed through the crowd. Old Marta, the one friend Sarah had made in her years of hiding. "We believe you, child," Marta said. Her weathered face creased with emotion. "You've always been good, always been kind. Power doesn't change that." "Thank you, Marta." Sarah's throat tightened. "Thank you for believing in me when I was nobody. You were never nobody, just hidden." Marta smiled. "Now you get to shine." The council meeting the next morning was tense. Half the council seats were empty, their former occupants either dead, arrested, or fled. The remaining members looked exhausted and wary. Dante sat on his throne with Sarah beside him in a chair that had been hastily brought in. Not quite a throne, but close enough to make a statement. "Let's address the obvious," Dante said without preamble. "My council was infiltrated by traitors. My own cousin tried to stage a coup. And my mother was murdered because she discovered the conspiracy." He let that sink in before continuing. "Things are going to change. No more secret alliances. No more political marriages arranged without my consent. No more treating Omegas like property or servants like they're beneath notice. Your Majesty," one of the older council members ventured, "with all due respect, you're talking about upending centuries of tradition. Traditions that allowed my father to rule through cruelty, that let conspirators infiltrate the highest levels of government, that nearly destroyed this realm." Dante's voice was hard. Yes, I'm upending them. And anyone who has a problem with that can leave now. No one moved. Good. Then let's discuss the new order. Dante gestured to Sarah. First, Sarah is my queen and Luna, not my consort, not my mate, my equal partner in ruling this realm. Any decision I make, she has authority to question or override. Any law I propose, she must approve. We rule together or not at all. Murmurs rippled through the council. Second, I'm reforming the council itself. Merit and loyalty will determine position, not bloodline or wealth. Beta Marcus will lead the selection process, with Luna Sarah verifying the loyalty of every candidate. You want her to read our minds? A council member looked alarmed. I want her to verify you're not plotting treason, Dante corrected. Lunar power doesn't read thoughts. It senses bonds, loyalty, intentions. If you're truly loyal to the realm, you have nothing to fear. And if we object to this invasion of privacy, then you're free to resign from the council. Dante's smile was sharp. But know that anyone in a position of power will be subject to lunar verification. That's non-negotiable. Sarah felt their resentment through the pack bonds, but underneath it, she also felt something else, relief, because most of them were loyal, had always been loyal, and the idea of rooting out any remaining traitors appealed to them. Third, Dante continued, my daughter Maya is formally recognized as Princess of the Northern Realm, and my acknowledged heir until such time as I have other children. A bastard child as heir? Lord Ferris sputtered. Your Majesty, she's not a bastard. She's the product of a mate bond that existed before I ever agreed to court Lady Vivian. Dante's eyes were cold. I acknowledge her as my legitimate daughter, born of my true mate. Anyone who calls her bastard again will answer to me personally. Lord Ferris went pale and silent. Are there any other objections? Dante asked. Silence. Then we're adjourned. Marcus will coordinate repairs to the palace and begin the hunt for any remaining conspirators. Luna Sarah will verify all staff and warriors over the next week, and in 3 days we'll hold a formal mating ceremony to properly crown my queen. The 3 days passed in a blur of activity. Sarah spent hours each day using her lunar power to verify pack bonds. Most were genuine. Wolves who served because they believed in Dante and the realm. But she found a handful of spies, holdouts from the Ashford conspiracy, and they were quietly arrested. Maya recovered from her ordeal with the resilience of children. She spent her days following Dante around, asking endless questions about being a princess and whether she could learn to fight like the warriors. When you're older, Dante promised, though Sarah caught him teaching Maya basic defensive stances when he thought she wasn't looking. Old Marta helped Sarah prepare for the mating ceremony, bringing in seamstresses and advisors who knew the old traditions. Lunar ceremonies haven't been performed in 200 years, Marta explained. But the old text survived. We know what needs to be done. What does it involve? Public claiming before the full pack, exchange of vows, the Alpha's bite, which you've already received, and the Lunar's mark in return. I mark him? Sarah hadn't known that was part of it. Of course, it's a partnership, equals. Marta smiled. That's what makes lunar bonds different from regular matings. The power flows both ways. On the night before the ceremony, Dante found Sarah on the balcony overlooking the courtyard, the same courtyard where he'd first seen her dancing with Maya. Can't sleep, he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Too much on my mind. Sarah leaned into him, breathing in his pine and steel scent. Tomorrow I become queen, officially and permanently. Having second thoughts? No, just overwhelmed. A month ago, I was a servant trying to stay invisible. Now I'm about to be crowned Lunar Queen in front of the entire realm. You're already Luna. The ceremony just makes it official. Dante's lips brushed her temple. But I understand being overwhelmed. I felt the same way before my coronation. Were you scared? Terrified? I was 23, had just killed my father, and suddenly I was responsible for an entire realm. His arms tightened around her. But I had good advisors, loyal warriors, and the certainty that anything was better than my father's rule. Do you ever regret it? Taking the crown? Every day. He turned her to face him. Until now. Until you. Now I'm grateful, because if I wasn't king, I might never have found you. Might never have had Maya. Might never have known what it feels like to have a true partner. Sarah cupped his face. I love you. I should have said it before now. Should have told you every day since you claimed me. But I love you, Dante. My mate, my king, my everything. I love you too. He kissed her softly. Tomorrow, I get to tell the entire realm. Get to crown you as my queen and watch everyone finally see what I've seen from the start. What's that? That you're extraordinary, powerful, beautiful, and mine. His smile was soft. All mine. The ceremony was held in the Great Hall, witnessed by every wolf of importance in the northern realm. Sarah wore a gown of silver and midnight blue, lunar colours, Marta had explained, with her dark hair loose and flowing. The only jewellery she wore was her mother's jade bracelet and the mate mark on her neck. She walked down the long aisle, alone, head high, feeling hundreds of eyes on her. Some watched with approval, others with barely concealed resentment, all of them with curiosity about the servant who'd become queen. Dante waited at the end of the aisle, dressed in formal black with the crown of the northern realm on his head. He looked every inch the king, powerful, commanding, beautiful. But when their eyes met, his expression softened into something private and tender. When Sarah reached him, he took her hands. We gather tonight, Dante announced to the assembly, to witness something that hasn't occurred in 200 years, the formal claiming and crowning of a lunar queen. He turned to Sarah, his voice dropping to something more intimate, though still carrying to every corner of the hall. Sarah, you came into my life like lightning, sudden, unexpected, impossible to ignore. You showed me what I was missing, what I'd been denying myself in the name of duty. I claim you as my mate, my partner, my queen. I pledge to stand beside you, protect you, honour you for all my days. I pledge to raise our daughter and any future children with love and wisdom. I pledge to listen to your counsel, trust your judgment, and respect your power. He drew a ceremonial knife, cutting his palm. Blood welled, bright and red. My blood, my bond, my life, I give them freely to you. Do you accept this claim? Sarah's heart was so full she could barely speak. I accept. She took the knife, cutting her own palm. Their hands clasped, blood mingling. I claim you in return, Sarah said, her lunar power making her voice ring with authority. Dante Blackwood, Alpha King, protector of the realm, father of my child. I pledge to stand beside you, support you, and guide you. I pledge to use my power to protect our pack, to root out betrayal, and to ensure no wolf is overlooked or forgotten. She felt the lunar magic rising, ancient and powerful. I pledge to be your conscience when duty hardens your heart. Your strength when grief weakens you, your partner in all things, from ruling the realm to raising our children. My power, my loyalty, my love, I give them freely to you. Do you accept this claim? I accept. Dante's voice was rough with emotion. The mate bond blazed between them, fully activated and recognized. Sarah felt it settle into place like the final piece of a puzzle. Absolute rightness, perfect balance, two souls made one. Then Dante produced a crown, smaller than his, more delicate, but no less magnificent. Silver and sapphires formed into the shape of wolves and moons. I crown you, Sarah Blackwood, lunar queen of the northern realm. May your reign be long, your power fierce, and your heart true. He placed the crown on her head. The pack erupted in howls, traditional acceptance of a lunar. Even those who'd resented her found themselves compelled by the ancient magic filling the hall. Sarah turned to face the assembly, her crown glittering in the torchlight. I accept this crown. I accept this responsibility. And I promise you, I will be the lunar this pack deserves, the protector, the nurturer, the fierce guardian who stands between you and any threat. Her lunar power flared, touching every wolf in the hall, letting them feel her sincerity through the bond. I know I'm not traditional, not what you expected, not what some of you wanted. Her eyes swept the crowd, but I am yours, and you are mine. We're packed now, all of us, and I will die before I let anything tear us apart." The howls intensified, and Sarah truly knew, that she'd been accepted, not just as Dante's mate, but as their Luna in her own right. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the courtyard watching Maya practice forms with the warriors. Her daughter had taken to training with enthusiasm, though at 4 she was still more enthusiastic than skilled. But the warriors were patient, showing her how to stand, how to move, how to protect herself. "She's getting better," Dante said, coming up behind Sarah and wrapping his arms around her expanding belly. "She's getting fearless. That worries me. She's a princess. She needs to be fearless." His hand splayed across her stomach. "How are they today?" "Active. One of them kicked me through an entire council meeting." Sarah covered his hands with hers. "Your sons are going to be warriors, I think. Or daughters. We don't know yet. My lunar senses say boys, twins, both alphas." She leaned back against him. "Your line will be secure." "My line was already secure the moment Maya was born." Dante's lips brushed her temple. "But I won't complain about more children, especially if they all have your strength." The past 6 months had transformed the realm, with Sarah's lunar power rooting out corruption and Dante's reforms changing old broken systems. The northern realm was thriving. Trade had increased, crimes had decreased, the pack was stronger, more unified than it had been in generations. Not everyone was happy. There were still traditionalists who grumbled about an Omega Queen, but they were a minority, and even they couldn't deny the realm's prosperity. "Mama, Papa, watch," Maya called from across the courtyard. She attempted a spinning kick that sent her tumbling into the dirt. Sarah started forward, concerned, but Dante held her back. "She's fine. Let her get up on her own." And she did. Maya sprang back up, grinning, and tried the move again. "She's so much like you," Sarah murmured. "Stubborn. Brave. Refusing to quit. She's like both of us. Your strength, my determination." Dante's hands tightened on her belly. "Gods, I'm grateful for this. For you. For our family. Even though I disrupted your entire carefully ordered life, especially because of that. My carefully ordered life was cold and empty." He turned her to face him. "Now I have warmth, love, a mate who challenges me and a daughter who makes me laugh, and twins on the way who'll probably drive me insane." "Definitely drive you insane," Sarah agreed, smiling. They stood there in the courtyard, watching Maya train, feeling their unborn sons moving in Sarah's belly. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. It was perfect, peaceful, everything Sarah had never dared to hope for. Then Maya ran over, sweaty and beaming. "Mama, did you see? I almost got it that time." "I saw, baby. You're doing wonderfully. Can Papa show me? He's way better at fighting than the warriors." Dante laughed. "The warriors would be insulted to hear that. But it's true. You're the best fighter ever." Maya grabbed his hand. "Please, just one move?" "All right, one move, then bath time." "Bath time is boring." "Bath time is necessary when you're covered in dirt," Sarah said firmly. As Dante led Maya back to the training area, showing her a basic defensive stance, Sarah felt her lunar senses expand. The pack bonds glowing bright and strong. The love flowing through her family. The peace settling over the realm. This was what Luna meant. Not just power or magic or crowns, but this, protecting the people you loved, building something lasting, creating a home where everyone belonged. Sarah rested her hands on her belly, feeling the twins shift and settle. 2 more pups to love, 2 more reasons to be fierce. The sun sank lower and Dante finished Maya's lesson, but instead of heading inside, he caught Sarah's hand. "Dance with me," he said. "Here? Now? Why not? The courtyard, the sunset, my family." His smile was soft. "I want to remember this moment forever." So, they danced. Dante and Sarah swaying together while Maya spun around them laughing. The warriors on duty pretended not to watch, but Sarah felt their approval through the pack bonds. Their king and queen dancing in the courtyard with their daughter. Not proper, not dignified. Not what royalty was supposed to do, but perfect anyway. When the dance ended, Maya tugged on Sarah's dress. "Can the babies dance too when they're born?" "Definitely," Sarah promised. "We'll all dance together, our whole family." And Papa too? Especially Papa. Sarah looked up at Dante, seeing her whole future in his eyes. Always. Dante pulled them both close, his mate, his daughter, his unborn sons. Always, he echoed. And as the sun set over the northern realm, the Blackwood family stood together in the courtyard where it had all begun, where a king had seen an Omega dancing with her daughter and felt his carefully controlled world shatter, where love had conquered duty, where a servant had become queen, where a broken hidden Omega had finally found her home. Sarah looked around at the palace, her palace now, and felt the lunar magic humming through every stone. Protection, strength, family. This was her legacy. Not the power or the crown or the title, but this moment, this love, this unshakable certainty that she belonged. 5 years ago, she'd watched Dante choose duty over their mate bond and thought her heart would never recover. Now, standing in his arms with their daughter giggling and their sons moving in her belly, she understood. Sometimes the hardest paths led to the most beautiful destinations. Sometimes you had to lose everything to find what really mattered. And sometimes, just sometimes, the moon goddess knew exactly what she was doing when she made two souls into mates. "I love you," Sarah whispered against Dante's chest. "I love you more," he replied, kissing the top of her head. "Love you both," Maya chimed in. And in the courtyard, where it all began, under the rising moon and fading sun, the Blackwood family stood complete at last. King and Queen, Alpha and Luna, mates and partners and parents, together, forever. Home. The end. Thank you for listening to this story. Like, share and subscribe for more.